T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Kush's Corner here on the Trap Talk Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world. Tonight is a podcast I've been trying to do for a long time. I am joined by Alex Huang, better known as pandasfauna tonight. We have lots and lots of stuff to talk about, everything from his history in the reptile world, lots of herping discussions, and then getting into some of his projects. Alex has a very, very diverse collection, lots of different species, so plenty to get into tonight. Of course, before we do that, as always, USARC. So USARC is the organization that is fighting for our rights to keep our reptiles, to run our reptile businesses, to live this lifestyle. Check out usarc.org for all of the information you need to know about the organization. That website is also where you will find updates on any legislation that is introduced at either local or national levels, as well as updates on the progress of any pieces of legislation. usarc.org is also where you can become a member of USARC. As a community, we have strength in numbers. The more people that are behind the cause, the better. And here we are, everybody, another week, another Kush's Corner. Thank you to everyone who has already tuned in. A little full disclosure up front. This took a lot of convincing, and there may be some nerves going on the other end of my screen here. So any nice comments would be much appreciated. I've already got some good people in the chat. Brooks here, Alan's here, TJ's here, Adrian's here. What's going on? PJ's Creations, Amanda. What's going on, Amanda? So I got some good people tapped in here already. For anyone here on YouTube who is not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe here on YouTube. A new podcast drops every single day of the week from some of the best hosts in the game, talking about a wide variety of topics from within the reptile industry. We are not only on YouTube, though. We are on the audio platforms as well, be that Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast from. You can find the Trap Talk Reptile Network. A follow, 5-star review, and a comment on any of the podcasts would be most appreciated on any of those platforms. And with all that housekeeping out of the way, it's time to bring Alex onto the show. What's going on, Alex?
What's up, dude?
Oh, what a great way to start a podcast. Well, I mean, but in all seriousness, I really appreciate you doing this. You oftentimes will discount who you are into this industry and who you are to a lot of the people who are involved. So I know for a fact that there are lots of people who are excited to get to hear what you have to say here tonight. So I'm very grateful that you gave me your time this evening.
Oh, man. It's weird to hear that.
Well, get used to it. It's the truth. Although probably most of the people who are watching or listening will be familiar with you. For anyone who is not already familiar, I think this guy down here might be as well. Give us a little bit of a rundown. How did you get involved in the animal world when you were young? What kind of was the precipice of you getting started with all this?
What started it was catching chuckwallas in my aunt's backyard in Lake Havasu City when I was really young. And then we, as a small city, had one pet shop and one pet shop only. And they had, back in the day, it was crazy. Just animals everywhere, stuffed in as many cages as you could possibly fit, and really cool species, like that today you definitely would never see. And so my grandma owned a Chinese restaurant, and so across the street would be this pet shop, and so I would always run over there and kind of hang out and do my thing. And then we ended up moving to Tucson, Arizona, and I got into birds a little bit more because Tucson is a little bit bigger than Lake Havasu, so the animal world was a lot more accessible to me.
Okay.
And I kind of started up with wildlife rehabilitation with this lady named Darlene. My mom was always at work all the time, so she was an ICU nurse, and so I never really had like an outlet to kind of just like chill and do my own thing with animals. So that lady was my outlet. I would go there almost every single day, every single weekend, as much as I could, and basically help out with Sonoran wildlife from all different areas, from rehabilitation to raising up, her parrots, because she had a fascination with parrots, to catching the big gopher snake in the enclosures that the bobcats or whatever were trying to mess with. So I mean, I've always kind of just been around reptiles and animals in general. And then Tucson Reptile Show and Reptile Specialist was a reptile shop here in Tucson. And so when I was probably in like 4th grade or something like that, 5th grade, I would go there all the time when we had first moved to Tucson, and kind of got the hang of that. And they always wanted volunteers. It was just, again, same situation, really old school pet shop, a lot of animals in small cages, things like that. So Renee, jeez. So I was like the only kid basically that wanted to be in this pet shop with a bunch of adults, and it was three individuals. And back in the day, they had a lot of really cool species. And so when I had walked in there, I asked to volunteer, and this individual was like, you can volunteer if you open this white-lipped python cage and put it into a tub, and clean out the enclosure and put the snake back in there and close the enclosure. And he's like, if you get bit and you freak out, whatever, but your goal is to basically take the snake out and put the snake back in, and clean the enclosure, not to lose the snake, not to freak out. And there's going to be customers walking inside. And so I'm super small, and I'm like, holy shit, this snake is huge. And I'm like, this is pretty intense. And this is a southern white-lipped python for anybody who's wondering. And it was a really big, like 6.5 foot, super crazy silver male. I still remember this animal to this day. And he was crazy mean. And so like, as soon as you touched the glass, he was already like out of his like little hut trying to, basically mess you up. And so I ended up doing that. And then long story short, I ended up staying at that place up until high school, on and off. And they changed ownership a couple times. Throughout there, I was still kind of maintaining my stuff, and kind of maintaining a large collection. Just how it is working for a pet shop. It's like, man, you can't go a whole 12-hour shift without bringing home a reptile, or somebody coming into the shop being like, hey dude, do you want this? And it's like, oh, not really, but now I do.
I feel like especially at that age too, when everything is just so new and like the possibilities seem endless. That I had the same experience in my situation in high school at the Wildlife Discovery Center. A little bit different, but there was a lot of animals coming in all the time where it's just like, you can't, your focus can't be narrow. And nor I don't think should it necessarily be
right
at that age, at that stage in herpetoculture. That's really the time when like, getting your hands on as many different kinds of reptiles as possible is like the most formative for, refining what you actually know that is like the stuff that really makes you click,
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely, back in the day, it was like, if you got bit and you could handle it, it was fine. And so now, like, as an adult, I look back at it and I'm like, man, I hate getting bit. I hate like the whole aura around it. I hate the feeling. I hate getting, I just hate it all. And so it's like, I love the animals. I do everything in my power not to get bit. But back in the day, it's funny, you look at it and it's just like, the thing to do was just grab everything and kind of hope for the best and take care of it as best as you could without, trying to lose it or kill it or, do whatever. And if you breed it and you're successful, it's cool. But it's the variety was definitely like the reason that I have maintained a variety, I guess, throughout the years working with that type of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it's fun to have those kind of like cowboy days where you're, being kind of reckless and stuff. But I feel like at a certain point, I really believe there's something to like try to get bit as little as possible for both the sake of yourself and the animals as well. Like I know like snakes that I have that have bitten me, like the relationship there is not the same after like even one bite. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit out there, but I do believe that personally.
Yeah, I definitely believe that personally as well. It's also too like your mentality changes a little bit with that animal. Your comfortability is like, man, you you try to bite me in the face. Like, I don't really think I want to be your friend anymore.
Well, and and maybe this is just a function of us getting older, but I feel like back in like the early to mid 2010s, more than now, there were bragging rights and like, I know how to handle these difficult reptiles, like, the free handle Friday, whatever, on Instagram and shit like that. That wasn't even necessarily all hot.
Right.
I think this is a very reasonable request right now, so we're not doing anything until that happens.
They have to pay for that, dude, and it's definitely not used.
So if we get a super chat, you'll take your shirt off?
No. Not happening.
You might have to. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Does that make sense to you, or do you think that was just like we were all like teenagers and dumb back then?
I think definitely like a little bit of both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just kind of, I guess it depends on who you are. Jeez, man, now my whole brain is flustered.
Well,
Armin, don't do that to me.
I mean, Patrick wants the link too, so I think everyone's kind of flustered right now. So at that original store in Lake Havasu, what were like some of the animals to you that really stood out, especially being that young, that you saw at that store were like, wow, this is so cool, like inspired you to want to learn more, start keeping reptiles? Were there any like standouts for that?
So originally, growing up like really young, I'm Chinese, for anybody who is wondering, and my mom's side of the family is very Chinese, and so dogs and cats were super new. So for me to want a dog was crazy to them. And for me to want like chicks and rats and cockatiels and all of these things, it was like, where did you come from? You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Who is this American child?
Yeah. No, it's like textbook Asian family, like they're all trying to be somebody super crazy, like a doctor, freaking, brain surgeon, whatever. And so it's like, animals don't give you that fulfillment financially, nor will they ever do something for you like that in like a school setting. And so my family was always like pretty against it. They were pretty supportive in terms of like dogs and stuff, but they were pretty against it. So going over there to that pet shop, I actually never really was allowed to like mess with the reptiles because they were like not happening at all. Like, I was, super young at the time. I didn't really start messing with reptiles until I was about like 7 going on into 8 when I bred my first leopard gecko. And that was just by chance, you know what I mean? Just keeping an animal in a cage and feeding it, putting an egg in your room and going like, holy shit, one day. But the animals that stood out to me the most that kept me going every single day were the birds. I've always been like a pretty big bird guy, and they had, they had so many different crazy species of parrot and like songbird and softbill, and it was, I feel like back in the day, exotic pets sold a lot better, and everybody wanted everything. And although that may not have been a good thing, or although our husbandry may have been off, and you can make an argument that they kept purchasing animals because things kept passing away or whatever. I got to experience just a lot of different species of birds. And so it was really cool to be able to be like this little tiny kid, like, hey, I'll give you my grandma's Chinese food if I can just sit here for 8 hours and annoy the shit out of you with 95,000 questions and, and be okay. And so, it was birds and aquariums and turtles was like the foundation for like what I like to handle and see and be around.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, like if you had to give like a percentage to birds versus reptiles, obviously you have many more reptiles than birds, but you kind of can't have the volume of birds that you have of reptiles. Obviously this is a reptile podcast and people know you for the reptiles, but the birds are a huge part of your life. I mean, like how would you describe that?
In terms of what, like trying to pick and choose if I had to, or
like what if you had to put the interest of reptiles and birds in like a 100 percentage point continuum, like what percentage is birds, what percentage is reptiles?
Oh man, I think anybody that like really, really knows me would say it's like for sure 50-50, maybe even more so birds more, just because of my like hands-on experience with them. I don't know. It's hard. Like if the world was perfect and I had all the money and like had the space to do stuff and had like employees and all these crazy things, I'd own probably a bird breeding facility over a reptile breeding facility if it like came down to it. But in terms of like sitting down on the couch and like hanging out with the animals or doing whatever, like having like a bond, I know like some people will have more of a bond with the reptiles than any other animal. And so for me, it's mainly like my birds. I have my lizards that I really bond with, but for example, like my snakes, I love a lot and I care about them a lot. And, I want to see them do good and all of those things, but I definitely don't like treat them like a dog or a cat.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess birds, but reptiles too. It's a daily battle between the two for sure.
Yeah, well, you definitely have decided both and then some. But yeah, I mean, I guess so. Another aspect of your life that's very integral are the dogs as well. I mean, for those of the listeners who don't know, how many dogs do you have, Alex?
I have 6, which is not a lot compared to some people being like, I have 9 cats in my house, so it's really not that bad. And
I didn't see 6, I'll tell you that much. There were
more.
more.
I have 6 of our own. Renee and I own 6. I hope I'm not forgetting one. Beefy and Ryland, which are my 2 original ones that I've had for 14 and 15 years before Renee and I met. And then Ludo, we got together. And then Georgie, who used to be a client dog of mine, who's now my dog. And then we rescued another dog. Oh, okay, and then Bug. So 7. My bad. I'm forgetting Bug.
Wow.
Whatever, dude.
If Bug had the mental capacity to be offended, he might be offended.
He does not, so it's okay. No, they're all small, and Beefy and Ryland are the big ones, and they are, basically in hospice geriatric level, so it's not really like a lot. But you've been at my house where there's multiple dogs, fosters, clients, so it's like at any given point there could probably be like 11 to 15 dogs in my house, so it's like a lot. Although it's a lot for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are like, oh, my house is a zoo, my house is a zoo. Yeah, you forgot Jax as well.
No, Beefy, Bug. Wait, Beefy, Ryland, Ludo, Jax.
You didn't say Jax.
Oh, Georgie. Well, it's fine. Whatever. We only have 6 dogs. See, Renee does quick math better than I do when I'm nervous, so it's fine.
But I mean, I think you and Renee live the my house is a zoo thing more than like probably 99% of people who say my house is a zoo. I mean, and and this is a compliment. It's a compliment, from like the minute you walk in all the way to the backyard. It's like, I mean, I give you guys a lot of props for being able to balance all of that, because it is overwhelming just to think about for me. Yeah,
no, man. I didn't really start thinking about how overwhelming it is to some people until I met Renee. Like, I've been doing this every single day since I was 7, and so it's like I haven't really had like a thought. Yeah, it's been like full force trying to like consume as much knowledge and hands-on experience as I could throughout the years. So it's like,
yeah,
it wasn't my collection that I was taking care of. It was somebody else's pretty much my entire life. And so I've always been used to a really large volume. And I think growing up in wildlife rehab, fucking everything is stressful and everything sucks and everything is horrible. And, you want to battle mentally with everything when you're doing wildlife rehab. And it's like, some days, even as like a kid and a teenager, you're like, holy shit, why am I doing this? So Bug cannot come live with you guys.
No, he can't. There's
I
a
will
reason
get Bug can't live there.
No, not at all. Yeah, for me, and I don't know if this sounds terrible or not, but like part of why I never really got into rehab or the veterinary stuff or anything, it's just like I feel like I would be depressed being around like these distressed animals all the time. I mean, as someone who's done a lot of that, does that start to wear on you after a while?
Yes and no. I definitely, I think am a little more desensitized to it than most, just given my background of things. You know, like we talk about all the time growing up, and we're not even like that old. And so compared to people that we look up to in the hobby, I can't even fucking imagine what they had to do. And you know what I mean? And so it's like, yeah, I forgot your question. Sorry.
No, does it wear on you after a while to
yeah.
do
So,
like rehab and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think it does for me. I mean, in terms of like vet med, when I was a technician for ER, there were cases that definitely sucked. Whether, you know, like or not you could save that patient versus like there's nothing that you could do. The patient needs to pass away, that type of thing. I mean, it definitely wears on you. It just kind of really depends. Some days or some months it's a lot easier to manage than others, or you know, it just kind of depends on what load you have, because when you go home it's like I have all of this, so when I'm in vet med it's like I can't really escape. So I don't know, it just kind of depends. When I have what I have here, you know, in terms of like my own personal collection, I'll sometimes get overwhelmed or stressed out, but for the most part,
Sure.
It's pretty even keeled.
Yeah, that is definitely always challenging to have an animal profession and then an animal, like, I don't even want to call it hobby because it gets well beyond the scale of a hobby, but like your life outside of work is all animals, your life at work is all animals. That can burn you out fast, I have experienced. I mean, do you have any tips or tricks to avoid that burnout, or just let it?
No, not really. I mean, I feel like in our time alone, we've seen a lot of people come and go. And I feel like the biggest issue of that is trying to match somebody else, whether that just be on social media or like, you know, you have a goal to make. And then, yeah, you kind of just like lose sight of things and you just start accumulating a bunch of shit. And then you don't really have like a base foundation for that species to begin with. But then it just keeps, you know, going on and on and on. And so, sorry.
Well, no, I mean, there's definitely something to that of like, what was the intention going into it? Like if you're, you know, if the intention wasn't just like purely based off of the love of the animals and whatnot, then
right.
Yeah, that burnout is going to come a whole hell of a lot sooner. Because if you're just measuring yourself against other people, or this is what I spent, this is the investment I want to make back in X number of years, then, you know, if those are the things that you're striving for, you're in for a hell of a time, because it's a hard reality to live in.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've like definitely like kind of glorified the reptile hobby a little bit, and it's gotten a little bit more public than it has been. And so, yeah, we definitely forget like why we started, like basically. So every time I get overwhelmed or I'm like, you know, I suck, I just try to sit down and chill out and look at my animals and, you know, kind of figure out another game plan. But at the end of the day, you know, I realize I haven't really done much outside of the animals, and so that's what makes me happy, and they always make me happy. So yeah, it's definitely like Renee said, it's like that extreme interest. Like, dude, you should go to a zoo with me, bro. It's like I'm the most hyped person there ever, bro. I'll cry over animals that I like just like to see. You know what I mean? It's like it's crazy, dude. I don't know. I guess I don't really have like too much burnout per se.
That's good.
I feel like most of the people that feel the burnout kind of already know that it's happening, and expect it, but kind of maybe just hide it. And so I don't know. I don't really have any tips or tricks because I haven't really experienced like full blown burnout.
But yeah, fair enough. So I guess maybe the tip is just this has got to be it for you. You got to be fucking fully all in no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely I agree with that. So I kind of want to go back again to, you know, some of the more the origin story. When did you start keeping your first reptiles as pets?
So I used to. They're not reptiles, but my entry into, I guess, being allowed at my home to keep reptiles was my leopard gecko, and I had like probably 200 different types of tarantula and centipede and scorpion and stuff. And so for some reason, like, you know, my mom and my grandma wouldn't care about that, and they wouldn't really care.
I feel like that's the opposite of most situations, where it's like that's the last thing that's coming in the house are the bugs.
Yeah, well, and it's like things like, oh, well, you know, this animal isn't going to hurt me, but then it like disappears out of its enclosure, and it's like, hey mom, like this is somewhat medically significant, and I just want to tell you, and it's probably crawling like on your bathroom counter or something, you know.
Nice.
So I guess like after a little bit, they let me keep more lizards, and so for a while I just kept a lot of lizards and a lot of arachnids and stuff, a lot of birds, a lot of other animals, hedgehogs, random things like that. Did the dogs. And then, you know, by that time, I probably had like 100 animals or something just from accumulating everything, but none of them were snakes. And then I started for some reason, you know, like my mom was just no snakes. And so maybe like my 14th or 15th, it was before high school, and I was still working at that place. You know, I'd fallen in love with this one Brazilian rainbow boa, and I'm like begging my mom, and I would tell, dude, it's like I was really good at selling things at that shop, and I would tell everybody like, this animal's a bitch, like it will bite you in your face, like it will poop all over you, it's gonna like constrict you, it's ugly, like you don't want it, it's gonna shed weird, like you just don't want it. And it's because I'm like telling my boss, like, dude, I just need to break my mom down, just let me break my mom down, and I'm gonna take this animal home. But it's, you know, this like big adult female rainbow boa, and so she's like, that's not happening. And then my boss at the time was really into carpet pythons, so she had a trio of jungle carpet pythons from Anthony Caponetto, AC Reptile. I don't really know if he's doing jungle or carpet or anything anymore. So she basically gave me a baby, and did it like, I had it at that place for a little bit, and then when it grew up, she was like, hey, you gotta tell your mom now. And I was like, oh yeah, for sure, I'll tell her. And I got, you know, like one of those 41 quart bins, and I got locking lids, and I put cinder blocks on it, and I put it under my bed, and I basically just had this animal up until it was like a 6-foot long jungle carpet python. And she didn't know for like the longest time, dude. And like it was probably like, you know, 2 years or something like that. And she's like, you know, you're doing really good about not asking me for a snake. Like, I don't really think you like, you know, like, I think you'll be okay with that one. And then, you know, coming up on my birthday, she gave me my first corn snake. And then basically ever since then, it's been a snowball effect of like, well, you allowed me my first corn snake, so now I can have 50 others. So yeah, it just kind of happened that way.
Oh yeah. So yeah, some clarification. Patrick said last time we talked to Anthony, he was mostly doing crested geckos. So I think now that he says that, that rings a bell for me too. Renee wants us to see Fatty.
Oh man,
Fatty? I think
that's my original gecko that's still alive and kicking at like 20 years old.
Wow, that's not something you hear of every day. That's for sure.
Everybody's gonna come at me for how fat she is, but she's just a little thick.
I don't think she is at all.
Everybody comes at her tail, dude.
Oh, her tail is giant, but that's the part that's supposed to be fat on the leopard gecko.
Yeah, she's cool. She's lived with me throughout all phases of my life, more than my dogs, and she'll like you can hear her squeak. Yeah. She's pretty crazy.
You said she's like 20 years old?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to do the math, and if you ask Renee, I'm pretty bad at quick math. So I got this one random female gecko, and she was gravid, and it laid eggs and definitely did not last a very long time. And the only egg that basically survived was that leopard gecko, and my mom and I had no fucking clue what we were doing. And so we literally, I'm pretty sure it was like a desk lamp or some shit, and we had it in like some Tupperware tub, and like I don't even know if, I'm pretty sure it was like paper towel. I don't really even like remember correctly, but it was like the most janky ass incubation setup, and out came that thing. And so it's like, yeah, the thing's like lived in my car with me. It's like lived in every type of situation or enclosure like you can think of. And so it's like when people are like, oh, like what animal do you recommend? It's like, dude, I used to be a crazy kid. So it's like, if I can keep this thing alive, you know, for that long and have so many different situations happen, it's like, it's a pretty indestructible animal, I feel like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like leopards have been, I don't feel like they have been overshadowed by all the New Caledonian stuff over the last 10 years or so. But
Right.
I don't know. To me, I don't think there's a better pet lizard than a leopard gecko.
Yeah, no, they're cool, man. They're, you know, they're chill. They're a little crazy as babies, but it's like, you know, kind of everything is crazy as a baby. So it's
Yeah.
like, whatever.
Once they get that like 25-gram range or so, then they're just like normal
Right.
little geckos. So that's awesome. So from your first gecko breeding, what was like the next thing along the line that you were able to have success with?
King snakes and carpet python. So I mean, when I was at that reptile shop, I was I guess so there was 3 people, the 2 owners, which were a married couple, their manager, and then myself. And so periodically we would have like other small volunteers, but for the most part I was like the main individual. And so they had everything. They had green tree pythons, green tree monitors. They had jungle carpet pythons, diamond pythons. They had red light carpet pythons. They had redfoot tortoises. They had African rock pythons, Argentine boas. I mean, like you name it, dude. They had it in their own personal stock and collection. And so,
yeah,
in Tucson, Arizona, if any of you guys watching are monitor lizard people, Frank Reedus is basically like one of like the cornerstone dudes for monitors in captivity, husbandry wise, or just, whatever. So he was one of like the very first, I guess you can say, like OG reptile people that would just grill me. If you guys know Frank, dude, Frank is the most like funny, stubborn, like he'll definitely tell you how it is type of dude. And so even if, I'm a little kid, he would walk into the reptile shop and be like, is this how you feed a Nile monitor, you pussy? And he's like, come here, dude. And he would grab the tongs, and we had this huge Nile monitor named Xerxes. And so Xerxes was in this cage, and it's, like I'm a little kid trying to feed this monitor lizard. And so it's like this guy would like grab my hand and like throw my hand in the enclosure and like move the rat around. And so then the Nile monitor would grab the rat, and he's like, that's how you feed a monitor. Do you understand me? He's like, you don't do this pussy shit where you just grab it around and you pull it like a fishing lure. And he was like, this doesn't happen like that. And he's like, that's how you do it. He's like, you hand it to them. And he was like, why are you afraid? And so ever since then, I'm like, oh man.
That's awesome. And like, how old were you when that was?
I was in 7th and 8th grade ish, pretty much. Aiden said Frank is pretty extreme. Yeah, man, that dude. I love him, bro. That dude is. Oh, dude. Yeah, it's really. I'm stuttering because it's really hard to explain his personality. Like, and he has not changed since I was a little kid. This dude is 75 years old or something now, and he will wrestle me at my booth and throw me on the floor and make me tap out. And this dude is, in his set, and he's strong, bro. And this is like just the type of dude that he is. And like people will be at your booth and he'll be like, run along, keep moving. And they'll have questions for you. And he'll be like, not today. He's busy. He's an interesting guy, man. He's done a lot for the reptile community. But yeah, so anyways, he would come in and he would give the reptile shop owners everything, dude. Flavy crosses, Gil and I mean, just stuff that we didn't even like really know, like the species name, or like when, looking back at it now, it's like he really didn't even know the species name, and they were all like kind of Odatria species or the Argus and things like that. And so to go back to your question, I bred a lot of stuff there at the reptile shops, not, like as my own collection. And then I started breeding stuff on my own. So I guess like my first ever like real breeding projects were jungle carpet pythons and various amounts of king snakes and corn snakes. And that's probably like the start of it, I guess.
Okay. That was like high school time?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And that was probably around the time then, around like when Instagram started really becoming a thing in the niche community that used to be reptile Instagram.
Yeah, so I was a high schooler, and everyone's going to call me a baby. I was a high schooler, and so freshman in 2009. So I mean, quite a.
I was a freshman in 2014, so I'm a little worse than you. So.
I forget every time, dude. Every time. You guys watching don't understand how much we will hang out, and I just assume that this guy is 34 years old, you know? And he's like, no, I'm 24, I'm 25.
Yeah. But so like, how did that change your experience in herpetoculture once the social media aspect kind of started to get involved?
I mean, at first it was kind of crazy because, you know, like my foundation, it was calling, you know, whoever on reptile magazines like Tom Crutchfield, you know, shout out to that guy, man. Him and his ex-wife, Patty, she, dude, they would sit on the phone with me for like 3 hours. You know what I mean? While I just asked the stupidest questions, and they would pass the phone back and forth while they're, you know, hanging out, doing whatever, answering my questions. And so, I think, sorry, I forgot your question again because I'm paying attention to the chat.
No, yeah, just everyone's telling us how old they are. How did that change your experience once social media became a thing, especially Instagram in particular, just because that community was so unique to what was kind of known at the time?
Yeah, I at first thought it was pretty cool because of where I came from, right? Like I was like the weird kid in class, and not many people really mess with reptiles. It's like, yeah, we have a bearded dragon at home or whatever.
Yeah.
And so your mentality is like, holy shit, dude, like there's all these people around the world that are like the same as me, and it's really refreshing and crazy. And so I feel like in the beginning when, you know, we first started social media and we were like kind of like the, you know, beginner, I guess, like OG people on Instagram as kids starting social media. It's like, I don't know. It wasn't like how it is today. It wasn't an argument. It wasn't like, you know, I have cooler shit than you do or whatever, or like, yeah, I know this person more than you. It's like, it was just reptiles, you know what I mean? And like us being really supportive of each other. And I feel like over like the last maybe 6 or 7 years, it's definitely not that way at all. It's more of a competition than anything.
I feel like if anything, it's just like all like ads.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like
yeah,
less community now, and you know, it is what it is. I don't know, when Instagram went away from the chronological timeline, that was like a stake in my heart. I hated that. I loved the chronological timeline, man. That was the best.
no, for sure. Yeah, now it's just like whoever is trending, I guess. You know, like the order of operation is definitely out of like, I follow however many people on Instagram, and I barely see most of those people that are posting because it's like I see 4 accounts, you know, mainly on my feed, and the rest is just, I don't know, man. That's
the craziest thing. I feel like sometimes once you follow, like I see a page all the time and I'm like, all right, I'm going to follow this person, and I never see him again after I hit that follow button. Like, what was the fucking point of following them? I wanted to see the shit, and now it's gone.
Yeah. It's you know, I mean, I don't know social media algorithms or anything like that, but a lot of people say it's like, you know, it's about how many people that you're messaging or who you're messaging for how long or how often, how frequent, right? And so it's like if I'm messaging you a lot or sending you reels or whatever, you're just going to pop up on my social media a lot more because the algorithm knows that we engage on some different type of level.
That makes sense.
It's so weird, dude. You know, it's like just like the same thing that we talk about something and then we'll go on Facebook or Instagram and it's like right there. It's like, what is happening?
Yep. No, it's some creepy shit. Yeah, but it was cool, like, you know, being connected with people who are around the world, even, or around the country, you know.
Right.
I mean, that's how I met so many of my current friends in the industry. And I mean, like you, MJ was the same way. Like we had talked on Instagram for a couple of years before we met. I mean, for someone like this guy right here, Mr. Alex Oliver, like,
man,
you know, we had talked on Instagram for years before I met at like probably a Pomona show or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it's, I feel like for the time, the era of Instagram in which we were like teenagers, young, kind of coming up in the hobby, it was really cool. It was a good time, I feel like.
Yeah, no, for sure. We definitely won't get that back. It's long gone, brother. That's for sure. It's all about, Animal Con type stuff now.
Yeah, I feel like we have to almost revert back to in person to get that same kind of connection again. It can't even happen online.
Yeah, I was thinking about that today, like the instant gratification for just like social media in general, or like, we have MORPH Market. And so it's like back in the day, dude, we had to really hustle and ask people, and we had to really, I guess, connect with others and really try to find like what we wanted to keep or wait for a show. Right. And now it's like you can just go on a group or social media and just be like, oh, I can buy it right now.
Yeah. No, yeah, I've talked about that on here before. Just like, to me, the shows just aren't the same anymore. Like planning for like, for me, I grew up in Chicago, so Tinley Park was right there. Like my like teenage financial planning was from October to March to October. It's like, what can I do to get as much money as possible for the next show? And it was, I don't know, obviously Instagram and MORPH Market and all that, those type of sites have benefited us greatly, but it has taken the fun out of it to a degree, in my opinion.
For sure. No, for sure. Yeah, no, it's, and then I feel like everybody everywhere, like when you go to the shows, most of the time, like they kind of all have the same stuff. Like there's no more like individual personality in terms of like what they're wanting to keep anymore. It's all just about what's popular or, what's trending on social media or whatever, rather than just going up to this booth and this random ass dude who doesn't have any business card or anything. And there's just like 14 species of gecko on his booth. And he's like, there's no species name on it. There's not even a price. He's like, if you know what this is, you're going to buy it. If not, you can get out of my face. You know what I mean?
That's the thing that sucks, is like, that is kind of how you used to find out about certain stuff. Like I found out about cave racers at Tinley Park from seeing them on the Zirkles table. I didn't even know what those snakes were.
For sure.
I saw the snakes. I'm like, that's 5 snakes in one snake. What the hell is going on here?
Yep.
And I impulse purchased one, and he's right down there right now. I still have that snake. But yeah, I mean, for anyone who has like any really niche type of project, you just lose money by doing shows these days.
Yeah.
Like they'll sell online, and they're probably not going to sell at the show. And you've hauled all of your, rare, either valuable monetarily or personally, for sure, very valuable animals. You put them in harm's way, and you're probably not even going to sell any of them anyway.
Right.
So the incentive structure has been completely stripped down for any sort of like the real oddball, obscure stuff. Which is why I give credit to people who do have some of that kind of stuff, who do still choose to do shows, like how Alec brought some of his laces to Pomona. He didn't need to do that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not.
And it probably also helps that he doesn't live too far from there. But like,
right.
Even, me with Tinley Park, like, it was still a consideration whether or not to bring animals to that show, even though it was 45 minutes away, like, for just what you're going to be putting those things through over the weekend. So I definitely give a lot of credit to people who still bring the cool stuff out to the shows, even though the incentive structure is kind of dissipated on that. So
I feel that for sure.
Got to give them a lot of credit. So I guess kind of to go back to your story a bit more. So carpet pythons, king snakes, all of that kind of stuff. When was the next kind of stage, evolution-wise, of your reptile collection? Was there a point at which you were either in a new situation or new life circumstances to where you're like, all right, cool, we're gonna start keeping this, that, and the other thing, just to hit this 45 minutes? Is it 3 miles in Chicago? At times, yes. It was 45 minutes when you leave at like 6 a.m. on Saturday to get to Tinley before it opens. But coming home was a crawl sometimes. Coming home was a pain in the ass. But my mom was driving, and I was staring at all my new snakes, so that those drives went by pretty quickly. So, but yeah, getting out there was the part that you had to hit it before traffic got there. But anyway, so yeah, at what point did you really start expanding into some more of the different projects that you started to work with?
So it's kind of like a weird shift. My mom had 5 strokes in 2012 or 2012. And she basically was totally, she was in the hospital for like over 2 years. And so at the time, I had a really large collection. And I was still doing shows. So I haven't missed a reptile super show or a reptile show since I was, a little kid, since they started. And so for the people watching, if they know of a person named Mitch Bem or Global Captive Breeders, it was this really old, crazy guy who was an importer exporter. He had a really large facility, and growing up at the shows, he was like my Uncle Mitch. And so, a lot of people, they can look him up and they can figure out some stuff about him, and they have their own opinions about him. But it's like what we always talk about, these people are old now. They're double, sometimes almost triple our age, and it's like they make mistakes just like how we did when we were younger. And the only reason why we didn't make those larger mistakes that they have made is because we had to watch that, right? And so
yeah.
There's so many avenues, so I just I get like sidetracked.
No worries. So you have this major life change with your mom, and you're still going to all the shows. You have your large collection, and this kind of keeps escalating.
Yeah. So I still had a large collection, and I was kind of dealing with a bunch of CPS and school, and like trying to make my mom go through hospitalization, a bunch of other stuff. So I had a large collection, and I maintained that collection pretty much throughout her entire hospitalization, up until a certain point that one of my family members had, basically taken like all of my reptiles and my animals, and I had to get them back. And so I put them in another house. Long story short, that house ended up taking a bunch of my animals from me, and I had to take them back. And so it was a very large bump in the road. And then it was many years of just kind of trying to maintain the animals that I had still and breed kind of whatever comes my way by chance, instead of just kind of powering through the breeding season and pairing up a bunch of stuff. I mean, a lot of people know that I have a lot of animals, and a lot of them are adults, but I don't really like to pair up a bunch of stuff all at the same time, because it's a heavy workload, and it's
sure.
It's kind of a lot to do all at one time, especially like right now when the market is not as great as it once was. And so I'm not trying to sit on a bunch of babies that are just eating me out of house and home, when I could have just not bred them and enjoyed my snakes in the first place. So
sure.
I mean, I had some significant shifts, and basically just kind of had to do life as a 16-year-old kid and kind of get my shit together. And I, and through all of this, I still had those animals. I still had my dogs. I still had that leopard gecko that's in my back, in the back room. Like I never gave up. So that's why, like, when people are like, oh shit, my life's so hard, it's like, I have 10 animals and I have to get rid of these. It's like, well, that sucks. Try something different. They don't always have to be in the best situation all the time. Like, your situation will change. And so, I mean, it's kind of always like remained the same. I've never really like had like a year where I can just like sit down and breed a bunch of stuff. I always kind of have had something going on to the point where I need to focus on that in my life rather than the reptiles. So yeah, it just kind of depends. Your dad's funny. But yeah, I mean, I guess like the most significant shift was, I don't know, like maybe my early 20s or whatever, where I kind of got like a handle on things and was able to, rent a house and do whatever I was able to do by myself. Kind of figure it out that way. It wasn't really up until like I had met Renee that she's like, dude, you have all of these fucking animals, or they're like singles, or, whatever. She's like, what are you doing? Like, you talk about breeding these things. And she's like, but you're like just kind of chilling here. And she's like, so, do what you say you're going to do and let's get it going. So she kind of like pushed me into, breeding and keeping and being more, I guess, public with like talking to people and whatnot. Because beforehand, it's just like all of like the OG people that I knew just throughout my life I spoke to, and that was pretty much it. And so, trying to just be more like public and happier about like conversations with people instead of freaking out like I normally do. So. Dude, I swear, man, it gets to be too much sometimes. That MORPH market video, people don't understand. That took me over a month. Dude, that's crazy.
Hey man, it's all a learning curve, It's all a learning curve.
Sometimes.
No, I mean, it's just, like with anything. I mean, half the shit that you do on a regular basis, I would have no fucking idea. I'd be completely lost, dealing with all of the birds and stuff like that. And, that would be, that'd be jumping in the deep end. So.
Nah, dude, it's pretty easy. You'll be fine.
Well, I'll leave the birds to you.
Brooke wants a bird, dude. I think we should get it going.
Hey, we have the quail.
But is that like actually a bird though? You know what I mean? And that's coming from a bird person.
Yeah.
Like, no.
What are you talking about?
Nah, like I could go in my living room and grab one of my birds and just, love on her and talk to her like a little chihuahua, except without the yapping.
I mean, we do that with the quail. They might not like it, but, you could theoretically grab a quail and start baby talking and just be this.
Well, see, she needs a hyacinth, so.
Well.
Everybody watching, they just need to buy.
Yeah, if someone has a hyacinth macaw they'd like to donate.
Donate? No, you just have to sell, 12 captive bred and born scrub pythons, and you'll.
You mean indigo snakes? Fuck you talking about? Scrub pythons.
No, the indigos. No, don't talk about those, dude.
Yeah, those are what's funding the hyacinth. So then, when did you start getting into some of the projects that are kind of your staples now, be that the Barron's Race or some of the locality boas, Brazilians, etc.? When did that vision become clear to you of like, all right, I'm going to have a huge diverse collection. This is what I want to do, but I have these few projects that I know are going to be kind of like the mainstays of what I'm doing.
Well, I've always had a problem with just kind of maintaining lanes and focusing on a certain type of species. Not only do I have extreme ADHD, but I just, I get bored. There's so many other animals out there that have really cool natural behaviors or that offer a lot more that, like other species don't, that I really like didn't have a focus. But I guess, I don't know, maybe my early 20s or whatnot, I started to keep Barons and the Brazilians a little bit more seriously. Like I was telling you guys about like the reptile shop, that rainbow boa, ever since that rainbow boa dude, it was like, yeah, I'm keeping these things, I'm breeding them. I'm forever going to have like a very large base of like, I'm always going to have them in my life no matter what. Yeah. And Rainbows Are Us, Dave Calling was like a huge contributor to like a lot of my stuff. He might probably not remember, but it's like every reptile super show, it'd be like, I'm saving up money, I'm going to get a snake from you. All of my stock is, like dedicated to this guy because he's just like the rainbow boa guy. It's like, dude, to own all these rainbow boas is crazy, right? And so, probably early 20s is when I started doing the rainbow boas and the Barons, and I've always kind of been like in and out of homes and like rentals and stuff. So my ability to own other species was very limited because I had the dogs and the birds. I really couldn't like get other things like tortoises and whatnot that needed, like their own. Yeah. I guess. So it wasn't really until we like had moved into this home and, purchased this house that I had gotten all my turtles and tortoises that I've wanted, because it's like, well, shit, we're not going anywhere, dude, and I've got to move ponds and deal with all of that. Like, this is gonna stay put. And so that's when I started being like, you know what, Renee, sorry, not sorry. We're just gonna hear water the entire time in our house. So at least it doesn't smell like a fish pond.
Shoot, especially in the backyard, that's nice. I don't know, like hearing running water in your backyard all the time. I don't know. For me, that sounds pretty cool. So,
or for me, my PTSD, I'm like, shit, I left the hose on. Oh my god! And I gotta run back there, but it's just water dripping on the turtles, and then I scare all my turtles.
Yeah, that's how it goes. I want to switch gears, but before that, we're just shy of the hour mark, so I'm gonna hit our commercial break real quick. If everyone wants to stick around for a few minutes, we'll be back with more of this conversation with Alex.
One of the biggest growths we have in the reptile industry today are the rare species of reptiles that aren't worked with. That's right. That's why I went ahead and partnered up again with Brian Susan over at SUNDOWN Reptiles. Brian works with species such as kahua geckos, gargoyle geckos, all species of tree monitors. He works with abronia and many other cool species geckos that you can check out all on his website. Head over to sundownreptiles.com, see what he has available. Brian's one of the best doing it in the reptile industry today. He's been on the show multiple times, so make sure you check out all of Brian Susan's episodes on Trap Talk Reptile Network. But more importantly, for the highest quality of captive bred reptiles, make sure you head over to sundownreptiles.com and make sure you give him a follow on Instagram. Thank you again, Brian Susan over at SUNDOWN Reptiles. One of the things I love about being a part of the reptile industry is all the learning, okay? Learning can be fun, and I can prove that to you. Thank you so much to today's sponsor. It's Gary Scavino over at gs.reptiles. I highly recommend you head over to his YouTube channel, follow all this man's content when it comes to learning about rare species of snakes you could be keeping in the hobby, and also just finding out how easy a lot of these rare species of snakes are to keep in general. So thank you so much, Gary Scavino of GS Reptiles. Again, head over to his YouTube channel. Also head over to his Instagram to be on top of all of his current work and be ready for a big year over at GS Reptiles. Thank you so much, Gary, for your ongoing support. I really appreciate it. Cheers. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Green tree pythons, emerald tree boas, and plenty other arboreal snakes have been quite the popularity here at the Trap Talk Reptile Network, which brings me to today's sponsor, the Reptile Perch. Head over to thereptileperch.com and Reptile Perch on Instagram. See what type of design PVC perch is best for your arboreal reptile. But first and foremost, I would also check out David Brom's Green Tree Python availability on the website. And you can also check out his Instagram just to stay current on any projects or any productions that he posts. Thank you so much, David Broms, for your ongoing support. Looking forward to seeing what you have to show in the 2025 season. When you think about building a good community and being a leader of that community, nobody comes to mind better than Mark Hager over at Texas Chondros. That's right. Make sure you head over to TX Chondros on Instagram and also head over to Mark's website, see what he has available Green Tree Python wise, and be ready for quite the 2025 Green Tree Python breeding season out of Mark Hager. He's a veteran in the Green Tree Python game, one of the best and nicest breeders in the Green Tree Python game. He's been putting on the whole state of Texas for as long as I've known him. So if you want to see all the amazing other chondro keepers out of the state of Texas, another good reason to go follow Mark Hager over at TX Chondros on Instagram. And again, head over to his website, texaschondros.com. You can find all the links in the description below. Thank you so much, Mark Hager, for supporting the trap. Cheers. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. You know, longevity is one of the biggest things I strive for when it comes to thinking about being a part of the reptile industry. That's why I'm very proud about today's sponsor, Mark Bailey over at Mark Bailey Reptiles. 40 plus years, full-time reptile keeper, enthusiast. This guy, you can catch all his amazing ball python projects on MORPH Market. So make sure you head over to MORPH Market, and that's Mark Bailey Reptiles on MORPH Market. See what he has available currently. And I gotta tell you one thing, he's one of the biggest and most respected ball python breeders we have today in the ball python game. So shout out to Mark Bailey over at Mark Bailey Reptiles. Thank you for all the support. And again, make sure you head over to his account on MORPH Market, see what he has available. Thank you so much, Mark Bailey over at Mark Bailey Reptiles. If you want to be organized, if you want to be cutting edge in the ball python game, then you don't want to miss this. Shout out to today's sponsor, and that's Clutch, #1 ball python organization app in the game. No better place to start off than by using this app. Clutch is an organization app that helps you organize all your ball python projects. It also helps your peers and your fellow community members look at what you possibly have coming for the upcoming ball python season, what you have currently available on MORPH Market. It's so awesome to be ahead of the game by using organization app like Clutch. Thank you so much, the entire Clutch team, amazing team over at Clutch. If I were you, I would head over to Clutch's Instagram account, and I would also head over to their website, try it out, see how it works for you, but especially if you're just now coming into this, before you build your reptile collection, I would do it organized, and I would do it with Clutch. Thank you, Clutch, for being so amazing. Excited to hear what Clutch has to bring in the near future. Cheers.
Alrighty, we are back. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
So, a part of your life in herpetoculture that I feel like is as synonymous with you as is your collection is your herping. So how did herping become such a big part of your life?
I don't know, man. I just have always kind of been like every other, reptile kid. It's like going outside and catching lizards and frogs, snakes, whatever is like crazy to me. And in Lake Havasu, finding chuckwalla and sidewinders and whatever was really cool too. So then moving to Tucson, it's like, holy shit, we have so many animals here. You know what I mean, dude? It's I started herping because of Frank mainly. He would always come in and just show us, it's back in the day. So, he would have like buckets of snakes sometimes, like green rats. There'd be like 10 green rats in a bucket. And he'd be like, this is from 2 days. And it's like, holy shit. For 2 days, you found that many green rats? Like,
it's crazy.
What? And then he's like, yeah, and then I found this and I found this and I found that. And we found 48 trucks, and it's like, holy shit, dude. Like, that's crazy. And, growing up, I was in the loop with the reptiles, but like in the herping community, I was definitely not in the loop. I was just, I guess now, the slang is like, I'm a captive keeper, like I'm not like a true herpetologist or scientist or whatever. Like, I don't go out and do all of these cool things. I just go out and find reptiles. And so when I would herp around like my house or basically like at that reptile shop, if they would go herping, I would kind of tag along. But because it was venomous, my mom was never really like too keen on it. And even though she supported the reptile animal thing, it was like that's definitely where she drew the line for the most part. And then, when it sucks to say this, dude, but it's like when she went to the hospital, it's like my mom and I had a really interesting relationship growing up where, we butt heads a lot. And so it was very much like a young boy mentality, like, well, hell yeah, dude. Like, now I'm going to keep and do whatever the fuck I want to, because nobody's going to tell me what to do. Yeah. And so I basically, I had like my learner's permit and I wasn't even allowed to drive, and I would just go all the way out to like the Desert Museum area. And, it's like the most common spot. It's like you would find anything there, leopard lizards, desert iguanas, like Mojave rattlesnakes, atrox. Now, because of like the traffic and whatnot, that spot's pretty burnt out. But, back in the day, it wasn't as crazy as it is now. And so, yeah, I would do that. And then, finding atrox and Mojaves and stuff like that gets old after a little while when you're younger and you're wanting to find newer and cooler things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would kind of take my herping ventures out to California where my cousin Dane lives, and he was always into herping pretty much his entire life. And so that dude would just be like, all right, let's go find this Sonata, and wake up at 4:00 in the morning and go hike 8 miles. And you're like, oh, okay. Or like, let's go find these rosy boas. Let's try to find 8 today. And it's like, 8, dude, like, we going to be out there all day, So he basically, Frank and Dane basically like sparked my need to like want to go herping. And then also I had a dog named Coda, and she was about hiking, bro. And so she definitely, it was like, well, if I'm going to go out hiking and hate every minute of it, for the most part, it's like, I'm going to try to find animals and make it better. And then,
yeah,
in the later years, I started to love hiking, and I used to be really fat, 280 pounds. And so hiking when you're that big in Arizona is like not the coolest situation. And so when I lost a bunch of weight, it was like, man, I love hiking. You know what I mean? Like, I can hike all day long, dude. And it's to the point where like, most of the people that hike with me, I just zone out. I'm in it. I want to find as many animals as I can. I like, you've been around me. It's like, I love chilling with friends and whatnot while we're herping, but also it's like my goal is to find snakes and we can bullshit later, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you aren't focused, you're not going to find anything or hardly anything if you're just kind of casually meandering, talking, you know, because a big part of herping not only is what you're looking at, but what you're hearing as well. Right. So if there's a bunch of noise going on around you, that is a big detriment to what you're trying to do out there.
For sure.
So I guess when you were first getting into it, how did you kind of go about figuring out where you wanted to go look for animals? I feel like for a lot of people, especially, you know, someone like me, let's say, who grew up in a city where I'd have to, you know, go pretty far in order to be able to even have the chance of finding any reptiles. The thought of like, where do I even start to look in the first place is probably one of the biggest barriers. So, you know, you were in a part of the country that people travel all around the world to Arizona to go herping.
Right.
Very fortunate, but then also just being a kid, it's like, how do you even start?
Right. I mean, I think networking nowadays is different than back in the day, but yeah. I'm telling you, bro, I was that annoying ass kid, you know, like you would not hear me shut the fuck up until you took me out herping or until you taught me about whatever animal it was that I wanted to learn about. And I didn't give a shit if I annoyed you, you know, like I would always get my answer no matter what, because I was just that driven. And so starting off, it was just asking a bunch of people to go herping with them. And then once I finally got my car, it's like, well, you know, I don't know shit about cars and I don't know shit about these mountains, but I can figure it out. And so I just started hitting mountain ranges and figuring it out. And it wasn't up until like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or 8 years ago, I started like actually paying attention to mountain ranges and species. And it was back then, it's just, I just wanted to find everything and I didn't really care. I wanted to experience it. And now it's like, you know, it's still about finding stuff. I can, you know, go a full 4-hour hike and just see some Scalopris and be totally happy and not, you know, ruin my day. But at the same time, I can go that whole hike and find a snake, and that's like the coolest thing in the whole entire world, you know, perched up on a log or whatever, whatever species it is, doing whatever it's doing, like pyro sitting on a tree or in a crack or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, no, 100%. Have you gotten to the point where you do more kind of like targeted, okay, today I'm going to this range for this species, or is this still more of a general, like, this is what I know I can get if I'm over here, let's just kind of see what happens?
I mean, I feel like it's a conglomeration of a bunch of stuff, right? Like knowing habitat, knowing like the trees or the rocks or soil, whatever that they really kind of frequent in, the time of day, I guess, like if it's overcast, if it's not, like I'm not going to go hike up collared lizards if it's overcast that day. You're just not going to find any, even if it's, you know, 100 degrees outside. They're like a bearded dragon, dude. They love baking in that heat, and they can really take it too. So, I don't really know. I guess I started targeting species like once I started like meeting other people and having, I guess, like-minded individuals. But yeah, I mean, like what Brandon said, it's like there's very few species that I get it like crazy hyped over, dude, and like will freak the fuck out every single time, and that's Gila and Pyro, to the point where you know, one year I was, you know, finding like it was like 14 Gila monsters or something like that. They were all individuals, and it was like I had a mission to see every single Gila monster I could, dude. It's like every single time I had free time, I'd go out and I'd go hike for them, and I'd really try to get them down pat, you know, because I wanted to be at that point where I could just wake up one day and be like, yeah, I'm going to go find a Gila monster today. But I mean, I've learned, like, you know, sometimes it's like Brandon and I or whoever will go out and we're like today's Pyro day, we're going to find a Pyro, and then we find everything other than Pyro. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about then. Or then I go by myself and I am like, holy shit, today's a really good day. Like I'm definitely going to see something, or, you know, I name the species and I do see it, but I don't like being let down, dude. And so it's like, I don't want to be like, yeah, I'm only going for this, you know? So I just have expectations of like not seeing anything. And then whatever comes my way is cool enough.
Sure. So then the pyro and Gilas, is that more just like those are some of your favorites to find, or was the rarity factor mixed in with that as well? Like what about those two stood out to you over whatever else you could be going out for?
Well, the Gilas are just, you know, if you're a reptile keeper, you know how badass a Gila monster is. Yeah. And if you have kept them like in other states, it's like you maybe shit on them because they're just like lazy little potatoes or whatever. But in Arizona, it's like that's a huge ass lizard that's, you know, mobbing around. Nobody's really messing with it. And it's bright orange and black, right? It's venomous. It's kind of fucking crazy, you know? So it's like, think about it, it's just insane. And so, yeah, I don't know. I guess, yeah, just trying to find like a balance of figuring them out and wanting to, yeah, because everybody's like, you know, I can't find these this day, I can't find them that day. Like they're really hard to figure out, but I feel like they're really not that hard to figure out if you're kind of paying attention to their surroundings, right? So it's like every time I've seen pyro, it's always pretty much the same conditions. It hasn't really ever switched up, and that's just me. And maybe that'd be like the ranges that I hike, you know, and it's just like on my own, right? Like other people could go other places, like Utah, whatever, and find pyro in like a different situation. Or like my cousin, he lives in Prescott, and he finds pyros literally all the time, like clockwork, just flipping. And I can't do that. Every pyro I've ever seen has been like on the crawl or like in a log, kind of just like tucked away, chilling, and just by chance I saw, you know, its pattern or whatever in the log. So it's like not really a rarity factor. It's more so like, I don't know, they're just really cool species, right? Like they're yeah, there's not much to explain about them other than they're just really badass, and I just want to find as many as I can, and like the variation of them. A lot of people know, like I love variation. It's like in that species alone, you can, you know, line up 20 Gila monsters, and to the untrained eye, sure, they all look the same, but to us, it's like, oh, that one has reduced banding, this one looks crazier, this one has more intricate patterns, this one's reticulated, this one is not, like this one almost looks black. It's like, holy shit, and they're all from the same range, you know, like why? Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. I guess it's just me wanting to be stubborn and find species. I still have little bits and things here in Arizona that I haven't found, like oxybellus and narrow-headed garter snake. I just had this conversation too with my friends. It's not like a huge list of species that I still have yet to see, but it's definitely big enough. And most of it's just like, it's far and I'm lazy, dude, and I have so much shit here at home, and like I don't really you know, waste a 4-hour drive there and back and like possibly potentially not see anything. And like, you know, I'm not like that type of herper dude. Like I need to spend my gas money wisely on other things, right? Like I'm driving all day every day for my day job, and so it's like I don't know, it's different for me to want to like go target a species that really needs to be worth it. And
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So this might be an open-ended question, but John's asking, rarest species you've found
in Arizona?
Maybe just in general.
I don't.
It's very hard to directly quantify that, but I guess maybe some of the ones that are, you're like, oh wow, if I got one of those, that's fucking cool.
I mean, it's like a very small snake, and I might butcher the name. It's a Smith's black-headed snake. They have like a crazy small range. And then the other one would be probably I always butcher this name. It's called a quad. We call it a quad. It's a thorn scrub hook nose snake. They also have a fairly small range too, but I mean, they're pretty prevalent if you know where to look. I guess that would be like the rarest stuff that I have seen, really. I mean, it really all kind of depends on what you consider rare, because herping is weird, dude. You know, it's like you can know all of these things. You can know where they live. You can know the type of rock they love to have fucking babies under whatever, right? But like it's mainly like all by chance, you know what I mean? Like that animal just so happened to crawl out of the rock and you see it, right? Like yes, temperature variation is like in favor to that species, but also like you could have been there 5 minutes beforehand and not seen shit, right? And so
Right.
that's why I think like herping is like kind of funny and kind of weird, because it's like, yeah, dude, like you can know like what you're talking about and like what you're doing, and you can, you know, maybe hike a fucking mountain, but like it's like pretty much all by chance, you know, like you're not in control of shit out there, dude. And so there's stuff where like and I'm, you know, I feel like I'm fairly good at spotting stuff, and there's even me, I'll walk away or I'll pass something and Renee's like, you know, maybe just a little bit slower than me, and she's like, hey, you just passed a pyro. And I'm like, what the fuck? What? Where? And it's like this 4 foot long, huge ass pyro that's just running around, and it's like, holy shit, what the fuck? And she's like, yeah, you're going too fast. And so she always talks mad shit about me, dude, because me and my cousin Dane will just scan up and down the mountain and try to cover as much ground as possible.
Yeah.
And that, like, you know, has seemed to work for us. But Renee's approach is like, I'm going to stick to this stream and you guys can fuck off, dude, because I'm going to kick it and just roll out, and I'm going to find little things that you guys like aren't even really able to see. And so, yeah, I don't know. Herping is weird, dude. It's like the herping community alone is a whole different topic, but herping just in general is a very interesting thing too. Kind of like us going back to social media. It's the herping community has definitely been damaged by social media for sure. There's like zero argument about that for sure.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of people who are reptile hobbyists might not even understand that there's a difference between the herping community and the herpticulture community, I guess you want to put it that way, captive herpticulture. So for anyone who isn't really aware of that, kind of explain a little bit of like the difference, some of the where those lines are drawn.
Oh man, it's kind of many different avenues you can go. So I was never John. I was never. Oh man,
this was my plan. Get you comfortable.
Oh, my palms are sweaty, dude.
But I guess Brandon's comment's a good one to kind of preface it. Very few balance herping and keeping well, and I think that's a good point. Where, you know, there's almost like there are herpers who don't keep at all, who like herping is their life.
Correct.
I don't understand that at all. Like I could never be that guy personally.
Couldn't be me, brother. And I fucking love animals, but I couldn't be me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it like really all kind of comes back to like the root of like why you were here in the first place, right? Like I love fucking being outside and just finding an animal. You know, I even love not finding animals and finding a cool ass piece of wood, bro. And you'll hear all of my friends. I will hike a considerable amount in distance to take a piece of wood home just to make sure like my iguanas or whatever are totally chilling with that piece of wood, right? And so it's like, I think a lot of herpers are not necessarily captive keepers, and not a lot of captive keepers know herping at all, right? So
well, yeah, Aiden's comment here is really, you know, it says a lot, and like it's, you know, interesting how people do one without the other. And the primary way is keeping without ever getting into the field. Like that's far more common, I feel like, than being a herper without a collection.
I don't know, man. There's some herpers where like I go out with them and I'm like, "What are you keeping?" And they're like, "Nothing." Why do I want to keep stuff if I could find it? And I'm like, well, fuck me, dude. Like my bad,
you don't live in West Papua or
yeah, exactly.
South Africa or
or you know, like these herpers, they go out to those places because mommy and daddy money is prevalent, right? And so they get to experience all of these different species that we keep personally in our private collections as captive keepers. And they go out and they see this fucking rainbow boa, you know, on a stream or whatever in Peru. And it's like, oh, well, I don't keep these animals anymore in captivity because I'm
fucking better than you, and like I've seen them out in the wild, and like what you're doing is wrong, right? And it's like, all right, dude, whatever, eat my shit. Like I could care less, and that's probably one of the reasons why I have a lot of problems with other herpers. And in Arizona, a lot of people collect stuff too, and so there's really good herpers out there like John that will, you know, he'll hold you accountable for stuff, dude. Like he don't care who you are, who you're with. He doesn't care how many followers you have, dude. If you flip a rock and you don't put it back, he's going to tell you about it, and he's going to tell you why. You know what I mean? But then there's other people out there that they want like the clout, or they want the significance of being with somebody else, you know, in a group, and then like all of those morals and ethics go out the fucking window, and then you're left with the shitty herpers that we all know and love. And so it's like,
I mean, it feels like the elitism mentality is it's at a much higher percentage in the herper world than in herpetoculture. There's everyone who keeps reptiles knows that one guy who's like, he's just so pretentious. Like he's doing the same stuff that we're all doing, but just really pretentious about it. And, you know, frankly, those people I feel like get weeded out over time. But to me, and I'm very much on the outskirts of the herping world. But to me, it seems like there's just a much like higher density of that kind of mentality in the herping world, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's definitely like a battle 24/7. You know what I mean? It's like, especially during herping season for whatever state you're in, it's like, yeah, how many animals can you find? But like, it's not even really about the amount of animals anymore, or, you know, like it's about like the species, you know, how many green rats and how many of whatever, you know, species in your state that is less seen, you know, less frequently seen. It's like, how many of those can you find? Or like, you know, if we can do A, B, and C, like, well, what else can you do? And it's like, well, you're asking for a lot, dude, especially when like herping has gone to the full extreme. And, you know, me, Brandon, Renee, and Scott will jump in our car and we see like 20 fucking people on the same stretch of road that I grew up on, herping myself, catching a shit ton of reptiles. And now it's like, I'm lucky enough if I see 1 or 2 blacktails, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an aspect that a lot of non-herpers might not even consider is, you know, the whole idea of a spot kind of being ruined by the traffic over time. You know, like for instance, like there was a part of the Oregon mountains out here that we were herping last year, and I'm just like, conditions are perfect. This is exact habitat, and there's 4 of us, and we aren't seeing shit. It's like, I bet the side of the mountain was covered in snakes 30 years ago.
Oh, for sure.
And they've just all been picked clean. Like, you know, it's unfortunate, but it's definitely a reality, especially.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because like a lot of these people, they, you know, it's not like ever for like personal like gain, like meaning like, you know, I want to keep the species. I don't live here. Like I want to really treat it nice and give it a good home and figure that out. It's like, I want to keep this and I want to sell it, or I want to keep it and I want to, you know, breed it and do all of these things with it. And then I'm here. And so it's like, yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of like the captive keepers and a lot of like the herpers, they kind of like, they hate each other, dude, for the most part. It's like, I'm very much like a hybrid to the point where, well, and I'm also very friendly for the most part, you know, with people. And so I have the ability to make friends fairly easily. And it's like, I don't give a shit if you don't like me. I'm still going to talk to you, right? Like, we're in the middle of a mountain, bro. Like, I'm going to talk to you regardless if you don't want me to or not, because you think you're cooler. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. They hate on each other a lot because the herping community thinks like, well, you're a captive keeper. So like, if I started taking you out, it's like, oh, everything they found, they kept. You know what I mean? It's like, they're just destroying these spots because you don't have any herping etiquette. You don't know that, like, you know, in California and Arizona, Texas, maybe not Texas because it's more humid, I guess, depending on some places, it's like you pop over that rock or that log or whatever in a certain time of year, it's like you just broke that humidity seal. You just killed every microfauna and flora that you could ever think of that you can't even probably see, but you just killed it because we're, you know, 5,000 feet in elevation and we haven't had rain for however long, but because, you know, you want to go find a fucking willy or whatever, you're like ripping through a bunch of stuff. And not putting it back. And so it just, I don't know.
Well, I mean, on that topic, for anyone who is newer to herping, I mean, what are some basic pieces of herping etiquette that, you know, any respectable herper should follow?
My number one pet peeve is stacking rocks, brother. Oh my God. It doesn't really seem like that big
Is
of a
that
deal.
really a herping thing though? Or is that just idiot hikers?
Dude, I have literally caught herpers stack rocks. It is like Arizona herpers I have caught stack rocks as we're waiting.
Why?
Or as we're like waiting because they're like, they have nothing better to do. Dude, I will straight up, even like when I'm hiking, bro, in like this like random ass area, and anybody that has been hiking with me will 100% know if it's a crystal grove. Yeah. They know, dude, that if you're like a family of 4 and your daughter's like rock stacking, I will very respectfully take that rock stack down, and then I will educate you and your family on like why that's just like a piece of shit move and why not to do it. You know, in other states, like it's about microfauna like on the rocks, right, in the river or whatever, and so you're just essentially killing every single like nutrient or microfauna and flora that are on the rock or associated with that environment. And it's kind of like the same thing with Arizona. Yeah, John. Oh my God, crystal girl thing. It is, dude.
What a shame. So then, all right, other than rock stacking, I feel like is a really obvious one.
So, you know, flipping it anytime like anybody ever flips, if you don't put that back or try to put it back as much as, you know, as much as you can, as you naturally found it, you might as well not even flip at all. You know what I mean? Or like if you're flipping tin, you know, doing whatever, it's like try not to move it, just leave it, you know, as is, unless it's in like a crazy ass area. I don't really know. It's just, yeah, like don't blow up other people's spots. Like don't take other people that you know are collecting and doing stupid shit, taking, you know, massive groups of people to these locations. I mean, it's, yeah, the herping subject is, I guess, like somewhat sensitive because there's so many.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's like there's so many different things happening in that community, and there's so many different variables. Like John in the comments can probably spew off like a couple of herping tips, you know, that we have talked about throughout the years, just herping. Like, man, I wish, you know, people did this more. I wish people did this more. In reality, like, you know, we all want to go out with our friends and like we all want to experience these animals together and do whatever. But I feel like, you know, taking a step back and like kind of figuring out like what's actually happening first rather than just giving out all of this information to people is probably the biggest one. You're going to find it regardless. You know what I mean? You try hard enough, you're going to get that spot or you're going to get the information you need to, you know, to kind of go forward with that.
Yeah. So this is a good point. Yeah. Like there's super large groups hitting a habitat all at once. And then, you know, like I assume he means like, you know, 30 people hit a spot. How many people are they going to tell? How many people are they all going to collectively bring?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Or, you know, like, for example, one of my spots for collar lizards, it was like I could hike up that spot and get 10 plus collar lizards easily. And every single day, it didn't matter, bro. I live in Tucson, Arizona. I could find them. And it was to the point where I could go up there, I could go to those rocks and, you know, do this, you know, do what you will with this information. But it's like I would hand feed some of them just because I'm kicking it up there, right? Like whatever. And so some of them would hand feed from you and they would get really comfortable with you. And well, I told a couple of people who I guess trusted. And so now, and you know, this spot is not like a super secret spot. It's just like a very known spot between like hikers and runners and whatnot. And so I just so happened to stumble upon like the amount of that species on this one area and then telling literally 2 people about it. Now, when I go up there, dude, I'm lucky to see 1. And it's not like that big of an area too. So I mean, I don't think people realize the amount of damage that they do when they do shit like that. Whether it's a baby or, you know, an adult, their range is like fairly small, right? Like you don't just have like all of these dens of rattlesnakes and other species like sitting together doing their thing, right? Like you have to work for these things. These things also have to work for their food and everything else. And so, yeah, I don't know, man. Like that whole group mentality thing and like giving people, you know, a chance to find these reptiles in other spots. It's like I'm pretty fucking picky with who I speak to about that stuff. And and even when I take people herping, I don't care if I've known you for, you know, 10 years. I don't care if I just met you. Like, you know, I'm gonna hold you accountable for shit for sure. Even if you haven't even done it, I'm just gonna make sure that we're all aware. You know, like essentially what the rules are. Otherwise, like, don't herp with me. You know.
Yeah, because I feel like some of the differences, you know, between some of the mindset with herping and then in herpetoculture, you know, I feel like herpers in general are a lot more guarded with their information than herpetoculturists are.
For sure.
But then, you know, for better or for worse, but then if you think about the repercussions of, okay, you know, someone comes on a podcast and talks about how they bred some species that is known as a difficult species to breed. Okay, what's the worst thing that happens? Okay, now you have more competition in your market because somebody else may have figured it out as well. Well, that same scenario with herping could mean that now collectors have found out about this spot where these animals are thriving, and now you've just completely screwed up the ecosystem.
Sure.
And like, it doesn't just affect your wallet or whatever, or your market share for your species. Like, it affects things that are bigger than just like the hobby. I would say, you know, to emphasize on the herping etiquette side, and I'm nowhere near the herper that you or John are, but if someone shows you a spot, don't show someone else that spot. Like, that's you know, that's their spot that they trusted you with, and bringing someone else there, unless they specifically told you, like, I don't care if you show people this spot. I feel like that's being a good herper 101 right there, is, you know, respecting somebody bringing you to one of their areas. You know, that's not something that I would personally do. And then I hope that few other people would consider doing that at all. So, you know, there's a lot of trust that goes into it, especially when you're building relationships in that world. And, you know, I've known of people who have kind of been figured out, like, they kind of are nice to people. They try to get in. They seem like they have best intentions, and then all of a sudden something a little sketchy happens, something even sketchier happens, and now all of a sudden you see at a reptile show or on fauna, oh wow, all of these animals from this locality are for sale. How did that happen? Oh, and now your spot's screwed up with the native, and not even your spot screwed up. You just screwed with that system. Like, it's bigger than the hobby. It's literally nature. And
all for, you know what, a $200 to $500 animal that you could have just not been a lazy piece of shit and fucking bought and bred yourself, but instead you spent like all of that money and time to go out to this spot just to fuck it like that is like kind of crazy.
And that's the thing that like confuses me more than anything, because especially if you're dealing with species native to the US, no matter what it is, it's been pushed into a smaller area based on development. So it may be plentiful in this area, but that's not what its range originally was.
Correct.
A lot of the countries where species are exported en masse, you know, for instance, like, let's say sulcata tortoises, or before it was shut down, like Chinese water dragons, or, you know, some of these really plentiful species in the wild, that population is sustaining itself with this collection. And it's because the range is large, the resources are bountiful.
Right.
Well, a lot of the times in the US, that's not always quite the case. And I understand, like, for instance, last week when Kyle was on the show, we talked about how he started some of his own lines of the clobberai from animals that he found in New Mexico, but it wasn't hit the mountain range and take every single animal you can. Right. And first of all, that's not even legal. Second of all, what's the point when you can hand select your few of them a year that you're going to take with the intention of creating captive lines, so where you don't need to keep taking animals, or maybe you take one every few years for the sake of bolstering your bloodline. So you have your animals in captivity, you can create an assurance colony and also ensure that those animals are still going to be there in the wild.
Right.
But then also, for instance, like with, an animal we talked about, like the Alamo Waco locality clobberi, they are very uncommon as a locality type. There are collared lizards, pretty bountiful in the hobby. Why? I don't understand the mentality. Why collect animals that are commonly available?
Yep. Dude,
Why?
it's the instant gratification, and it's also like they're available. Maybe not to these people, but they're available for monetary value. So to most of these people, dude, that like Brandon, John, and I have ran into that have that mentality, it's like, the gas money, the time that it takes to find that animal, the blood, sweat, and tears, it's like that is worth it more, and ripping this animal is like worth it more to them than buying it from some Joe Schmo on fucking online, where it's like, well, you just, you grabbed it out of the wild yourself, whether that was last summer or 10 years ago. It's like, well, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, I'm going to do the same thing. You know what I mean?
The amount of time, effort, and money that would go into collecting those animals, you could have gone and worked at your job and made significant.
Oh, dude, we say that shit all the time, bro. We say it all the time. In addition to ethics of collection, I think breeding age. Yeah. So John put up a huge, crazy good point. So to spin off of like the collection thing, and this is me speaking for Arizona and California, right? Anybody that herps in California knows for a fact that it's not like a beautiful situation for these animals. You're mostly finding them in fucking trash. You know what I mean? Like for the most part, the majority of these herpers, dude, are finding them in like trash piles. It's like most of these herping spots are blown up so much in California that you're just in trash most of the time, right? It's whatever. And so in Arizona, it's pretty much the same thing. And so, both of these states, it's not always perfect 24/7, right? And so like maybe in captivity, it takes us 4 to 6 years or whatever to make this fucking animal into a mature adult. But dude, in the wild, you don't know how long it took that animal. Obviously, you don't know how old that animal is to start with, whether it's an adult or not. But like, you don't know how fucking long it took that animal from point A, to an adult, right? And now it just got snatched up by some asshole who is, gonna either fucking sell it for $1,000, speaking of like clobberi or whatever, or $200 or whatever, just for a quick buck for gas money or some shit. And so, like, these animals taking adults, it's like few and far. Like the amount of effort and time and just luck that it takes for these animals to reach adulthood in Arizona and California specifically is fucking crazy, dude. And we can breed them, like I said, in that time of, in that time frame in captivity, but in the wild, it's not like that. So you basically, even taking 2 females, right? Like a female blacktail can have up to like 10 babies or whatever, right? In a good litter, maybe possibly more, but for the most part, it's like 6 to 12 or something. And so it's like, if you take 1 or 2 of those animals, bro, you just fuck that entire canyon. Like, and all of those males that are like literally just moving the whole entire time trying to find females, you know what I mean? And like, by luck, you just ran into those males that are trying to, go to Pound Town, and you put them in your house, and then they don't want to eat or, whatever, and then you just get rid of them. And so it's like, yeah, I don't know, dude. It's like a really, I talk with John a lot and like Brandon a lot about it. It's like, for me as a captive keeper, I like to think, so there's this guy named Jeff Lem, and he always talks about how like, the things that are in the ground are in the ground. And so like whatever comes out of the ground, what you see is like probably fucking 20% of like what is actually like happening, and we just don't see it, right? Sure. And so it's like the same with Arizona. Like, you don't really know what's going on, you don't really know what's happening. And like, yeah, just like in a couple spots alone within the last 5 years, I've just been kind of fucked, dude, like to the point where it's like not even worth going there anymore because of, and it's not even like about the people, like not even non-herpers, like hikers. It's about like the herpers that have, dude, you go to some of these spots, bro, and you'll just see huge ass rocks that like for sure have nothing under them, but they're flipped. And you 100% know that this small little fucking retard herper is trying to flip this rock, or he's getting a bunch of other people and they're, you know, collectively lifting this rock. And so it's like, well, what are you going to do when that rock is flipped over, right? Like, are you going to flip it back over? You can potentially kill the animal. It's like, there's a lot of variables to you destroying habitat. And it's not even you taking those animals from that habitat. It's also like, you know, you creating dams to block water, and you like, you know, ripping out plants and doing all of these things, like rock piles, dude. Like, I've seen multiple rock piles that are perfectly stacked like in a mound together, and just over the years that big fat mound is now like this because everybody's like, shit, I found a clob, or I found a willy, I found this, I found that, and then they're just like taking up all of these rocks so that way they can have their picture. So it's I don't know. Herping is a weird thing, man. I can get amped up and talk about that shit forever, just because it's like, you know, I grew up around it as a kid and old school wise, and now I like see like the newer herpers, and it's like, you know, like you said, it's the ego thing, and a lot of these kids are so young, they don't have a fucking job, or if they do have a job, it's all going to gas money to find these animals. And so, you know, I give it to them. Like, the dedication is crazy. I couldn't fucking do it, dude. Like, even like when my friends come herping, you know, for the weekend or for 5 days or whatever, it's like, holy shit, I have so much to catch up on now, you know. And it's like, not that I don't want to do it or be there and be present. It's just like, oh man, bro, like we have a whole life out here, right? And so herping takes a lot of time. Yeah,
it sure does. And you know, I've done the multi-day camping trip, the whole nine. It's for certain people and it's not for other people. And Renee
I'll
do a couple nights, but the people who go a week or two, man, I give you guys a lot of credit. I don't know, it's not for me,
dude. Especially like those who sleep in their car, brother. It couldn't be me. I like to wash my butthole, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I need a shower. I need a bed. I'm too old for that shit. I'm not 16. I'm not sleeping in my fucking car anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't need to find the snake that bad. Honestly, it's like, I will find it eventually, and I'm not going to sleep in my car and be uncomfortable the whole entire time to find that snake. And Renee brought up a good point. I did not touch on this, and neither did John, but it's a huge pet peeve of mine. I don't own a camera, like a DSLR or whatever. I own an iPhone, you know what I mean? And so I am very limited in the range that I'm allowed to be next to these animals. I'm very limited in the amount of just, I guess, overall content that I can produce with these animals in terms of like pictures and videos or whatever. I just have my phone. So I have to get like pretty damn close to these animals, like for me to take pictures. For the most part, you know, like, for the most part, sorry, I forgot to charge my computer. For the most part, you know, you find the animal, and that animal has either been sitting there for days, hours, whatever, basking, trying to find a meal, doing whatever, right? And the institute picture versus like the pose picture is like a really hot topic too, right? Like, I can't even tell you how many of these people, bro, will grab this animal off of the road or the rock, fucking whatever situation this animal is in, and they will harass this animal, dude, for hours. And you think I'm exaggerating when I mean hours, bro. I have literally gone up and down mountain ranges and found snakes while these guys are still taking pictures of the same fucking snake that we found 3 hours ago. And it's because they have this $4,000 camera, right? They got some group picture shared on Facebook that got 2,000 likes. And so it's like the perfect head tilt, the perfect position, like the fucking sunlight, the way the moon is reflecting on this animal, and they don't like it, and they are too fucking lazy to, you know, just accept the picture. So then they'll keep the animal for 24 plus hours while they're herping, you know, so that way, dude, I know so many people, and like big herper people, right? Like people that like you would never expect, right? That will take these animals and then they essentially will keep them overnight or for 2, 3, 4 days, no food, no water. They're just sitting in a bag while they're going herping. And it's because they're waiting for like monsoon season. They're waiting for like this perfect picture moment so they can bring that animal out and photograph it. And then most of the time they're not even releasing them in the same spot that they found them in. They're just like, oh, fuck, our trip's over, dude. Gotta go. Bye. And so it's like, you know, you sit there, for example, it's like I herped with this kid and he took pictures of this turtle for like an hour and a half. And it was one of Scott's very first times herping. And he's like, what the fuck is so special about this turtle? You know, and I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, we've just been sitting here doing nothing. Like, what is he trying to do? And it's like, I don't know, I'm just trying to take a picture, right? I just want to take a picture to show that, you know, I found it, the habitat that it was in. I tell my cousin about it, maybe tell, you know, Renee and Brandon, and then it's like, and then I'm gone, right? Like I just like enjoy seeing them in that habitat. So yeah, that's a big thing too. If you're going to start herping and you find things that are in situ, like in situation, meaning like yesterday I posted a picture of a black-tailed rattlesnake that I found on Facebook. And it was in this like really big log, kind of like 5.5 feet up above everything. And so like, you really have to pay attention. And so, you know, John and I, you know, we saw this snake and we hung out with it for like 15 minutes, took our pictures. Luke, John, and I, we took our pictures, we hung out with it. We didn't disturb it at all. And then we got some really fucking cool pictures, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, I didn't have to harass this animal for 2 hours because the sunlight was ass. So it's like,
yeah. I don't know. To me, the coolest pictures you can get are those pictures that seem less staged, that are more natural, that, you know, you took what you had in the moment. And to me, and this might hurt some feelings, but there's the herper bro pick style. And there's like 100 Instagram accounts that are all the same.
Yep.
Or like, you know, and to give him a shout out, like a bunch of people trying to copy Kyle's pictures. Like,
yep.
At a certain point, what's the motivation there? Are you trying to keep a memory of your trip and this animal you found and, you know, take notes of the environment so that you can increase your knowledge of what you're doing? Or are you trying to look like other people's Instagram posts?
Exactly.
So,
and that goes back to the social media thing, you know, and like how it's like totally just fucking destroyed our hobby, really. Like
for me, like I can see a herping picture and know like it's one that Kyle took because he has like very specific style he's worked on.
Yeah.
And then I can see a herping picture. I'm like, this could be one of 50 accounts that I think I've seen.
Exactly. Yeah, and then they get butthurt. They're like, dude, what the hell? You've never seen my pictures before? It's like, no.
I mean, maybe. How could I know? They all look the same.
You guys all have the same camera, dude, and the same poses. So it's like,
yeah, and you know, and I also like I can understand, you know, camaraderie around something like that, but if it's at the expense of the animal, that's when it's really unfortunate. You know, and if you're compromising your integrity, your morals, what you're, you know, kind of probably what brought you there in the first place. I doubt any of these people got into herping for the IG pick, but right. Eventually that became the main motivation. So
yeah, man, for sure. Alex,
yeah,
I like that comment a lot. I actually just went out with Alex this past weekend. I took him out to a couple of my spots and we found some cool stuff. And that's like, you know, this dude is like a perfect fucking example, bro, of like what it's supposed to be. It's this one individual who is like totally infatuated with animals and he just wants to be present. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't care what he finds, although he has some things that he wants to see. It's like, dude, I'm just here. Like I want to enjoy everything. I don't really care like what we're doing. I just want to be like with my friends and I want to be with these animals and just experience them. You know what I mean? And like that mentality nowadays, I feel like is crazy, too far too gone. It's like it's basically dead, dude. There's
it applies to so much in life. Like, I mean, not to get like all, you know, super off topic, but I think it definitely relates to what we're doing. Like, do you ever see on like YouTube or Facebook like videos of concerts from the 90s or even like the early 2000s?
Yes.
And then videos of concerts from like current day. Like it's people being there, enjoying themselves in the past, and then it's just like, oh, like you're filming it. if you've ever been to a fucking concert and filmed it and you watch it back after, you're like, that was a total waste of time. This looks terrible. It's like, I can't even hear it. Like, I think the same thing applies for herping, or, for any of this, what we're doing, or, being at a reptile show, for instance. Like, if you're at a reptile show and your entire goal is to take like 1 million selfies with everyone and get your YouTube video in, and like, are you really even there? Or are you just behind your screen the whole time? I don't know. Like, for instance, when we were out herping, we found, you guys found that blacktail. Brandon and I ran down, like, I grabbed some pictures with my phone, but like Brandon brought the camera out and he was taking some pictures. I'm like, he has the pictures.
Exactly.
I can just look at the snake the whole time. Like, Brandon has that covered. He's taking the good DSLR pictures, and I can just actually be present with this amazing blacktail that you just found that we ran down the mountain to go see. And like, for how beautiful any of these people's pictures are, you can't come close to what the snakes actually look like.
Right. No, for sure. And I would rather sit there on that rock, dude, and, to be quite frank, smoke a bowl and just watch that animal do absolutely jack shit and enjoy it than sit there and fucking touch my camera and be like, oh no, this one's whack. Oh no, I don't like this one. Oh my God. The lighting's off. I need to change my settings. I got to do this. It's like, no, I'm good. My cousin, dude, like, when we go herping, it's like, people would think that this guy doesn't even want to find animals. You know what I mean? Like, he goes there, and as soon as this guy gets out of the truck, his goal is finding reptiles, and that's what he's doing, bro. He's going to take one picture, maybe two, and he's gone, bro. He's going to be 2 miles up the mountain before you even have your phone out, because he's like, here you go, drop it in your hand. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go find more. Right. And it's like, that's how it's supposed to be, man. Like, that guy's like just head down, and he's looking for snakes, bro. And that's like, still to this day, it's one of like the only people that I can go herping with that I 100% trust fully on his opinion. And like, this guy can find anything pretty much, you know what I mean? So it's like, and respect the environment along with it too. And this guy's like he's late 40s, jaded as hell. Like, he doesn't fuck with any of these herpers. He just kind of does it on his own. So it's like super crazy, dude. I don't know. I really just think, like I have said, like a broken record, it's social media has changed our industry in terms of like captive reptile keeping and like the reptile hobby. But it has really fucking like destroyed herping, bro. Like, I feel like there are more, like the percentage of people that are not really great people in the reptile community. There's far more of those individuals in the herping community, and I feel like it's even worse too, because you're basically just like robbing that animal from its time or doing whatever. So I don't know. It's weird. I kind of took a break from herping a little bit, or there are times, like we talked about burnout last time. It's like, if there's anything that I've ever been burnt out from, it's herping. It's like the constant chase. It's like I can't enjoy myself anymore, type of thing. It's like always like I have to. Which is why like I barely even post like what I find anymore. It's like mainly just like that blacktail that blew my fucking mind when I found that thing. And it's like, dude, I have to share this thing. But for the most part, dude, like, unless it's like me kind of doing like a photo purge or whatever on my stories, like I don't really care too much anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I could give a shit less if you want to, meet me in the mountain range and you can out hike me, then we could talk. But outside of that, dude, until then, not really listening too much. So
I don't know. To me, in general, bragging rights is like one of the worst motivators, or one of the most like empty motivators. Like, I don't know. And if that's like how you're approaching it, that's the only reason why this is why you have this mentality about your herping, is just because you want to be able to be wherever at that conference or wherever and say, oh, I got this here or this there. Not that it's not like, not to be proud of what you have found, but if you are the kind of herper who has a lot of these negative attributes that are hurting the greater community and the environment for the sake of your bragging rights, I'd hope you would be able to recheck your morals. And if anything, I doubt a lot of hardcore herpers listen to my podcast to begin with, but for anyone who is newer into reptiles and, you know, maybe has only heard about, you know, in depth about herping through my show and people who I've had on who are herpers, like, to create a good baseline of, you know, this is how you should approach it, because there's a lot more involved here than just what animals you're finding. Like,
Right.
you know, it goes a lot deeper than that. Much more is affected by what we're doing than you might think or you might want to think. There's a right way to do it. There are many wrong ways to do it. There are many right ways to do it. But you know, ultimately, at the end of the day, doing it right results in it being possible for longer.
Right. For sure. Oh yeah. No, 100%.
You know, and as does exist about the reptile community, herpiculture, keeping as well. But like, one bad keeper, worst case scenario, something terrible results in legislation. But there's a lot of bad reptile keepers, and for the amount of times that something bad has happened and sweeping legislation has resulted, it's pretty uncommon. One bad herper can ruin a mountain range forever.
Right.
And then and it's done. You're not repatriating that area. Like, oftentimes it's illegal, one, to try to do that, and also the amount of effort that one would need to put in if they were to, you know, try to release animals in that population, to source animals that are even from there, so you're not like introducing an invasive population. Like, you know, that's it's a lot harder than going down to the hearing at you know, town hall and pleading your case as to why tegu shouldn't be banned or whatever. You know, that's a much easier process than trying to fix a fucked up native population of a snake. Like, that's, you know, universities have major programs that are dedicated to that don't always even work.
Oh, no, yeah, they definitely don't work, because the U of A has programs for crotalus species, and, you know, they have a mountain that, you know, they do a lot of research studies on for like live-bearing rattlesnakes, specifically molluscus. And, you know, they posted this, and this is like where like the herping community versus like the scientific community versus like the reptile keeper community kind of don't match up very well, because you have these U of A researchers just so damn excited to share public news with these people that, you know, all of these students have just spent every single day on this mountain range trying to find X, Y, and Z. And this is like their first documented, you know, litter for black-tailed rattlesnakes that just so happen to be like in this like specific area. Well, whoever made that post clearly is just a fucking U of A student and not a herper or a reptile keeper or whatever, because she straight up just took that picture of the mom and all of these babies and was like, here you go. This is exactly where it is. Here's the whole entire house, like the street sign, like it even had like the building number, right, of like where it was. And so it's like anybody that wanted to go see those rattlesnakes could. And, you know, in their post, this is a while ago, but it's like in their post, it's like, you know, it's explaining how important this was to them. And all of these herpers, dude, me, John, like multiple people, we were like, hey, I bet you know, like by next week, these animals are not going to be here anymore. They're going to be gone. And lo and behold, bro, what happens? Me and John go on Instagram and we see people literally posting online. And this is a protected area, by the way, right? And so you're not even supposed to touch these animals. And they have like scientific markers on them. So these people are like painting the rattles. They're pit tagging them. They're doing whatever they need to do for their own, you know, research. And these dudes are harassing these animals for a photograph, right? They're free handling the animals. They're fucking flinging them around, and it's like 80 degrees at night. These animals, you know, it's like mid-monsoon season or beginning of monsoon season. So they're dehydrated, or they're not, or they just had babies or whatever. And then this dude goes all the way up, and I won't mention his name, even though I probably should. This dude goes all the way up to the mountain. This dude's like, no. He goes all the way up to the mountain, and he basically collects every single one of these baby snakes and the mom. And that entire research project for the U of A had just been blown like that within literally one night, one herping trip. This dude just destroyed the U of A's research. You know what I mean? And it's just for him to be like, hey, I want this stuff, you know, like, and I want to see it first before nobody else. And that was his reason. And so it's like, you have people like that, dude, that it's just like and now, you know, like those people are never going to post anything again, right? They're never going to want to share anything again, bro. They're like, and then it just leaves it open because Arizona's so small. It's like, the more you do this stuff, dude, like we already have really shitty laws compared to everywhere else. And so it's like, the more you keep doing this dumbass shit, dude, we're screwed. Like, we're not going to be able to like go out and find animals anymore. And apparently they're trying to pass this like new law that you have to have a permit for even taking pictures of reptiles.
Yeah.
Yes, that guy got prosecuted.
Well,
because half of the herping community that has a brain was like, yeah, no, this is horrible. But, you know, like I said, dude, it's like 10, 15%, whatever that number may be, of like really shitty people, dude. It's like you said, it takes 3 nights of like really hardcore herping to just ruin everything, and years and years to make that back. So
yeah, or maybe never even possible.
Right.
Yeah,
like species that are like really range specific, you know.
You'd think that the idea of being a naturalist would be to preserve the animals where they are from.
Nah, dude. Facts. Weird.
I mean, like, I can't imagine a birder who's like, I just want to take them all out of the wild.
That's what we talked about this weekend.
Oh, really?
John saw these people and they were like, what's that net for? He's like, it's a Trogon net. But they're like butterfly people. But it's like, yeah, can you imagine if people are sniping these like Trogon out of whatever tree just so that way they could take a picture? Because these people will fly from Germany, bro. And they're like, I only want to see this snake, or I only want to see this bird. And it's like, me and John would be like, have you found this bird yet? And all of these birders would be like, no. Have you? we're it's really fun to mess with the birders sometimes, dude. And you know, I'm a birder myself, and like one of my best friends, TJ, he's a birder, and he's a bird guy 100%. And so I like fucking with him because we'll be in the mountains and he'll be like, oh, I hear that. Do you hear that? It's this type of species. And I'm like, damn, dude. Like, sounds like a cricket. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just would hope that if you really do care about the animals, man, think about anything other than yourself in that instance. I don't know. Hopefully the message has done some good tonight, because
I hope so. For all you watching, better protect these animals, dude.
And even selfishly, so that you can keep doing it too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. None of it makes sense to me.
It's like, yeah, I tell John, like, I don't know about you, bro, but I hate wasting gas in my time to find absolutely nothing, because, you know, you guys take everything for yourself. So it's like, especially some spots, dude. It's like, oh yeah, I know where these all go. Whether that's like, you know, naturally, it's like, did they all disappear because of drought or because of lack of resources, or is it because, of personal private collection gain or whatever?
Yeah. So, well, I guess maybe to put a button on the herping topic. Herping is very fun. You guys should all go herping. It's great.
Enjoy it. Just don't destroy habitat and animals.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
I mean, I told you this was going to happen. We're over the 2-hour mark, and we really haven't talked about any of your projects yet. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, dude.
Cool. So I definitely want to hit on some of the things that you're working with. So it's hard to say. I guess before we go into that, I think we've had this conversation in the past. Do you have a species count of your collection?
I think the only person that ever knew anything actually accurate was you, when you asked me that one day, and I sat in my house and counted every single animal and every single species. Although, you know, that's probably changed.
Right, because that was a few years ago.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not like super far off of like what I sent you. I mean, like a lot of just like any big collection, a lot of things have either, sold because it doesn't really fit like my lifestyle here. And I just kind of realized like, shit, I really like these animals, but obviously Arizona or what I'm like, something that I'm doing is not, conducive to them living a healthy lifestyle. So I'm going to just enjoy them from afar and let other, people deal with it. I don't know. Yeah. I kind of,
Do you think it's 100 species?
probably. I mean, just outside I have Tenosaura conspicuosa, Mertens water monitors, pied pectinata, Cuban iguanas, Indian star tortoises, Burmese black, high white leopards, Indian spotted turtles, North American spotted turtles, diamondback terrapins, Texas ring sawbacks, and that's just like outside. And then like, I mean, not including like the birds,
Right.
paws, African gray, random stuff, and that's just outside. So I don't know. I haven't really ever like sat down and thought about it. Like that day that you asked me, I was like, holy shit, am I gonna learn that I'm a hoarder right now? It's like, holy crap, dude. I mean, but I feel like, I have my own, business that I maintain, and I have like I feel like personally I maintain this like fairly well in terms of like cleanliness and overall just like longevity of animals. Like most of my animals I've had for, if I could, then I have kept them, just like the leopard gecko and some of my snakes. So like a lot of the animals that I have are getting to be really old and just like really trying to fight with me on staying alive. And so it's like, well, now it's time, to get other species. And I had like a problem where I would keep this animal, dude, because I'm not from money, and like when I got these animals, whether or not like people want to like look at my collection and think that I'm like some rich asshole, it's like I'm really like the brokest motherfucker that you will ever meet. But in reality, I just know a lot of people and I have been around the block, and so it's like I put my friendships first before like the animals. Like I could give a shit less that you breed scrub pythons, or that you're doing. I mean, like I care that you breed scrub pythons, but it's like I'm not gonna be your friend.
Okay, that was too far. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my god, no! It's like I'm not gonna only be your friend because you breed. Like you have a lot more to give than just what you keep as So it's like, oh yeah, you're welcome. That's the only compliment, dude.
Hey, I get one. That's enough for now.
Yeah. No, but I don't know. I just yeah.
Well, so despite that eclectic nature of the collection, I feel like there are still a few projects that are kind of like, from a breeding standpoint, the ones that you're most focused on. Maybe
the ones that we have. I'll start with the ones that we have the most of.
Sure.
And I guess that's Barron's Racers. I've been doing those for a little over 10 years, I think, and I'm pretty bad with time frames. But rainbow boas and Tenosaura and tortoises. But I mean, like I'm not perfect, and I still figure things out, right? And maybe that's because I have a diverse collection and I don't have like all of the time that some people have to just focus on one species.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it done and like I'm successful, but that's whatever. It's like I don't know. It's hard to kind of put it into like a perspective, I guess.
Yeah. But with that said, though, I that's kind of at least what I have gathered. So the first species that I wanted to talk about were the Barron's Racers. I've never kept Barron's Racers, but I've been a fan of them for quite a long time. And you were probably one of the first people I saw to work with them. I mean, you had them long before they were as popular as they are now.
Yeah.
So, I guess what's your Barron's collection looking like these days?
Man, you're asking me things that I don't think about. It's pretty. I mean, I guess like compared to most, it's large. I probably have, I don't know, 16 individual animals,
Okay.
all pretty much like subadult to yearling size. Yeah, I mean, ranging from blues, greens, blue greens to kind of mixes. Most of it's like stuff that I've produced within the last, 10 years or whatever. And very few is like from other stocks. So like I have a couple from Philippe and one that was allegedly from Europe, from Calubra. And, outside of that, it's basically just been like me kind of pairing stuff and kind of figuring out like what works and what doesn't. And then, yeah. So Baron's collection is pretty deep, although I haven't really produced Barons. I have eggs right now in the incubator from a first-time female, although not many. It's the first time I've produced Barons since like my dog was diagnosed with cancer. So it's been like 3 years or two. It's probably been like 3 years or something since I've actually produced Barons racers, just because I had older females that, it's like for a colubrid that's double clutching, in the wild or whatnot, triple clutching, it's like that animal's life expectancy or breeding expectancy is definitely not supposed to last. It's like adaptable, right? It's like they're gonna give you a shit ton of eggs in a very small amount of time for maybe 2 or 3, 4 years, and then they're done. I feel like that's pretty much like how it is with Barons, or at least in my opinion and experience. A lot of like the older females, they end up just kind of getting egg bound, slugging out, and these like, extravagant, awesome, like 15 to 20 egg clutches become like these weird wonky eggs, or like these, just like weird, crazy problems that really only like high reproduction species have. And so it's, I have gone through many waves of these Barons and like have gotten like a lot of setbacks for the Barons. So it's like finally like starting to pick up. So I'll by next year or the year after, I'll probably have, I don't know, 5 or so, probably more than 5 females ready. And I know it's like not a lot to some, but to me, it's a start from where I left off. So
to most people, that is. I know we talked about it briefly on the YouTube videos we did, but explain a little bit of what is known now about the color phases and the heritability of the different traits.
Dude, honestly, I mean, I personally haven't really had like crazy good luck with figuring out like genetics, I guess, and in part of that, like a lot of Barons racer people, they all really kind of have like differing opinions. I mean, there are some that are the same, I guess, but for the most part, everybody's opinions are different. Like, for example, when I bred my Barons racers, they were, I didn't know any of known hets, so they're just green ass Barons racers, and I continued to breed them until I, produced higher yellow animals, because that's essentially what I like the most. And there was to a point where I had more higher yellow animals than I did anything else. And then, sorry, I forgot your question again.
Just the heritability of the different color phases.
Oh, right. So yeah, I paired up like a blue when I had first gotten my blue. Like I paired up a blue to a green, and I got 0 blue babies. And like for sure blue, like they were not blue at all. They were green babies, green chin. I knew the difference between a blue and a green Barons racer. They were all green babies, and I am probably not the best at taking pictures and recording pre and post breeding, and so I'm also like not the best at keeping track of like time frames, and so like I just kind of do it, and when they hatch, or whatever happens kind of happens. And so I've bred blue green to blue, so animals that I produced from a blue and a green pairing to the dad, which was a blue, and I've got all fucking green babies. And then a different female that I have had that was a blue, I paired with a blue male, that same dad, and I got all green babies. And so this blue female was from this guy named Jared, who basically was like the reason why I kind of started Barons racers. He bred the shit out of those things, and he had blues all the time. And so this female was like fairly older, but she was still producing clutches. And so when he had given her to me, he had sold me her as a blue, and she, you know, had a blue chin, but she was fairly old, so she was pretty dark. I think she gave me like, I don't know, like she gave me probably the most trouble out of like any Barons racer that I've ever had, just like breeding eyes and kind of like getting stable. And I had just like chalked it up to her being old, but you know, realistically, I don't really know. But when before she had retired, it was like all of those babies too. It's like they were just green. They were really fucking pretty greens, and then like she produced, you know, like it was just really, it was really interesting. And then this one female that I have, I produced 2 blues out of that, and that was like a sibling to another one, and that was like pretty much it. And so those 2 blues I still have, and I still haven't like been able to produce any more blues out of my pairing. But I haven't like repaired since the last couple of times that I've been pairing. So And
this is a good question. Is that what it is? Is the blue like an axanthic?
Well, that's what I thought, you know, or I don't know, dude. It's just like differing opinions. So like back in the day, the only person that I really had to talk to about Barons racers or breeding or, you know, anything really about them is Jared and Ryan Martinez. And so, you know, you and I growing up, Ryan Martinez was like a part of like the kind of OG reptile group. So keep Ryan for those
Instagrams.
Right. So he loves Barons, dude, and I love Barons, and so we would always talk about it. But it's just like, I never really got a full answer, because other people would pair a shitty green female that they have 0 genetics or background on, and then they grab this $3,000 blue, and then they make all blue babies. So it's like I always kind of like wonder if there's just 2 different types of blue, you know, like
could be.
It's just because there's so many different varying opinions, and it would be one thing if I'm like, oh, this is what I think, but it's like, oh, well, this is what I've produced, and they're fucking green. Right. So like, I really don't know, but I know of like animals that I have produced that I have sold make babies, and those babies be blue, and it's from also animals from my own like lineage, I guess that you could say. So it's like I have no answers, dude. I stopped caring about that shit a long time ago, because it was like every time I like thought I had it cracked down or thought I had it, it was like not. And I sourced, you know, like one of my females is from outside of Pete Philippe's. One of my females is from DM Exotics, and so it's like, I guess outside of like my entire Barons collection, that's like the newest blood, I guess, of mine. So I don't know, man. I have 0 idea. I hope with all of mine that I can kind of figure it out like on my end, because I know, you know, Palm Beach Colubrids and everybody else breeding Barons, they definitely have like an opinion, or they have some type of plan and action that they're doing to produce this. But I mean, I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, when I talked to John, it was over a year ago at this point, but if I remember, he also was kind of like, we'll see. Yeah. So but Alex here has the comment, if you like, in the brown Barons racers. I personally am a big fan of the brown Barons racers as well. Is that their normal wild color phase?
Browns and greens, and I guess apparently blues are also a naturally occurring phase too, but for the most part it's browns and greens.
Okay, but then the browns are the least common in captivity.
For sure, but again, it really comes in waves. I feel like there was a portion in time where browns were pretty popular, and people were trying to get like silver based like Barons racers, but that kind of faded out, I feel like. And again, like, you know, with social media, it's like you post a fucking blue Barons racer and everybody loses their shit, dude. And it's like,
rightfully so.
It's like, what is this snake? How big does it get? I want to know everything about it. I want 15 of them. And it's like, well, another like, you know, factor to them too is like they have some pretty crazy, you know, like they're like pretty medically significant, like in terms of an animal that you like really need to like be cautious of handling. It's not something that like that you can get bit and just like go on about your day. I've known people that really explode, dude, like have crazy bad reactions, but they're not allergic to bees or, you know, whatever bullshit that is. It's like they went into like anaphylactic shock type of stuff. It's like, yeah, like, so one of my Barons that I retired and gave to my to one of my family members, they have a roommate and he is very new to reptiles, but he has balls of steel, man. This guy will grab anything and anything, and he'll pick it up and he'll get bit, and he'll, you know, he doesn't care, dude. It's like he doesn't have a pain tolerance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this dude got bit by the Barons, and he thought it was cute, like, oh, she's chewing on me, and he's like, what the hell, you know? And it wasn't even really that long, and so he had taken her off. And like, I'm pretty sure it was like overnight, dude, this guy's hand was almost double in size, and he felt like shit, and he was just like really hot and just really couldn't like, yeah, he really like didn't feel like he had his stuff together. And so he ended up going to the hospital, and, you know, a couple days later, I think honestly it was like a week later, his hand and the swelling went down, but he's still like,
damn.
He freaks out about it, and he'll still tell you like, you know, I feel like I have like some like soreness in my hand or something. And it's like, and this is just from a Barons, right? And so it's like, yeah, as cool and as pretty as these animals are, bro, they're also like crazy smart, and they're crazy active, and you know, they can for sure differentiate like a rat between your hand. But for the most part, dude, like they're so fast acting, it's like they really don't have time to like maneuver and think before like they grab your hand. And they love food, bro. If there's any species that loves food, it's a Barons racer. And false water cobras. It's like a false water cobra, if you know you're familiar with that. Yeah,
kind of like a more slender, bit shorter false water cobra.
Yeah, no, for sure.
This is a good question. Would a brown and blue pairing still throw green babies?
I'm not 100% sure. I only have one brown, and that one is actually originally from Russ Gurley. And neither him or myself know the background of that animal. So it could be like this brown animal could be a brown to a green. And I know, you know, for some people, when they breed brown to green, they get 50-50 or, you know, whatever. And so it kind of just really depends.
Yeah. So I guess if the whatever polygenic, multiple recessive, whatever the fuck, however, if those genes match up in a certain way, then I guess theoretically a brown and a blue throwing a green wouldn't seem super out of the ordinary.
Right. Especially if, you know, that animal has maybe background genetics from, you know, like a green or whatever color phase baby. I feel like, yeah, it's like the Amazon tree boas, dude. It's like, you know, when we were growing up, it's like, they're all polymorphic. There's no genetics. Like, you just fucking pair them together and crazy shit comes out, you know? And now they're like, Amazon tree boa people are like, that ain't it, dude. Like, we're doing some cool things over here. And it's like, nah, you guys are whack. And then these Amazon tree boa people are like, look at what we just made, bro, because of our scientific research. Being keepers. Like, suck my dick, dude. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, that's honestly, I need to have like Jeremy or Randy or one of the Amazon people. I've never done an Amazon episode, and yeah, it's really crazy how far some of that stuff has come.
Yeah, man. I remember this guy Michael Heinrich. I don't really know if he's still around anymore, but I'm kind of blanking on his business name. But he's like this big white biker guy, a bunch of tattoos, piercings, all this stuff, and he used to do Amazon tree boas, and he used to have some crazy looking Amazon tree boas, dude. And like I said, I'm pretty sure he had like sold his collection to some chick, and she had like distributed it. But like that dude and this guy named Ralph, who has since passed away, his founding stock was from Camouflage Creations, back when Camouflage Creations was West Coast Reptile. And so this guy, Ralph, for the Amazon tree boa people that are watching, like Brandon, not my Brandon, another Brandon, Dark Grove lineage for Amazon tree boas is this guy named Ralph. And he's the one who produced and basically essentially made Dark Grove lineage. And Dark Grove lineage is, and this is like some really cool shit, right? It's like Ed Kammer really loved Amazon tree boas, and he had like a fairly like small or decent collection of them. And then when he gave them all up to Ralph, he was like really adamant about like keeping things like the way how they were and not like really add to it. And so like a lot of like that Dark Grove type of stock or like anything from Ralph has basically descended from like these random ass imports that West Coast Reptile / Camouflage Creations back in like the 80s or whatever like imported. So that's cool.
Yeah,
So,
I had no idea that Camouflage ever did Amazons. That's neat.
Well, they were West Coast Reptiles, so they were basically like a cow.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then he, basically found his love for chameleons and went that route.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm not sure if you know this or I know this, but good question. Potency of Thrasop's venom. Is it comparable to Baron?
I haven't really compared, but I'm pretty sure Thrasops are like pretty up there, man. Like medically significant. Yeah. Jackson's tree snake or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a species that we can't keep here in Arizona. Outside, like we have, we can't keep exotic hots, but in terms of like exotic rear-fanged animals, we can only. Or sorry, let me rephrase that. In terms of exotic rear fangs, we are not allowed to keep parrot snakes, and we are not allowed to keep Thrasops. I'm pretty sure.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like it's a super weird and like some type of like twig snake species or something. It's like a very weird.
Yeah. Well, the twig snakes are they're terrifying.
Yeah. Oh, and boom slaying or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I always thought that Thrasops were on the higher end of the potency spectrum with the rear fanged colubrids.
Yeah, I've only had experience with the Barons. I mean, I've kept false water cobras, but I've never really seen like too many, I guess, bites, and maybe that's just me not like knowing the species too well, or like being immersed in the species and like the community of false water cobras, but. Yeah. My own personal experience from that Barons racer, and then a couple of other people that have had experiences from Barons racers, just like nibbling on them. It's like it's pretty bad. I just don't know about Thrasops because I feel like in general they're pretty flighty. They're not like one to like come at you like a Barons would. Right.
I feel like they're almost like an African Spilotes.
Yeah, Muscarana as well. John was saying I hear they're pretty crazy too.
Their venom?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. I feel like I've heard the opposite, but
oh, really?
Could be wrong. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
I think they're the same way where it's really, at least the Muscarana that I used to keep. I mean, once that animal knew food wasn't around, good luck trying to get it to bite you. Until it didn't know that, watch out because that thing's going to bite you.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, I can see. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I like ball pythons, I love them.
Yes.
They're my foundation for everything.
They are. They are the foundation of all of this. Well, another thing I wanted to ask you about is the litter you just had very recently. So
yeah,
you have a couple of those babies in there you might be able to show off.
Potentially. They're all in really deep blue right now, but I could check.
So what was said litter you just produced? Wow.
Awkward. Right now they're all in sheds, so they're just in a baby pile. For those of you who don't breed snakes, after their first shed, I'll go ahead and separate them and they'll do their thing. But for the most part, this is what they look like for now. So these are Parsons Guyanans, or well, I guess it was a Parsons to a Het Parsons.
And what is Parsons?
Oh man, so Parsons is, and I might butcher this completely, whether that's dates or people's names or how it transitioned, but Parsons is from Guyanans, so I guess some import of Guyanans came in, and it was like, I guess, recognized as like one of the very first recessive genes in BCC. And so I believe in like 2013, they had a bunch of litters and proved out that it is indeed recessive, and that Parsons have the or sorry, it's not recessive. It's it is a co-dominant trait. Sorry. And so like, you'll have animals that look normal and they display Parsons look, kind of like pied markers for ball pythons, and then you have Parsons that are true Parsons. And so Mike Eckert is I guess like the OG original guy for the Parsons. And so he started to notice, exaggerated saddles and widow's peaks, and especially like the tail. They have like an hourglassy, like motley-ish pattern. And then if you breed two Parsons together, you just get, it's like essentially like a super motley that lives, right? Like it's this crazy striped, like incredible looking animal, dude. I'm gonna pull it up for you guys on my phone just so that way you guys can see it. They're cool, man.
What was your pairing then? Was it a Parsons to a normal?
It was a Parsons to a het Parsons. So it's an incomplete dominant, apparently. Sorry, I just looked at Mike Eckert's thing.
So then one of them is that super crazy phenotype, and then one is the slightly like the het marker, essentially.
No. So one of them was a normal, if I'm not mistaken, het Parsons, and then the other one was a visual Parsons. And then so in that litter, I made more Parsons than I did normals. But I had a temperature increase in my room and like throughout her pregnancy. So I had 9 babies, I think, born with like the most extreme kinks I probably have ever seen ever. And that asking Mike and a couple of other people, like 11's in, it's definitely like temperature related. He also brought up a really good point of like, sometimes when animals are like right about to breed or go through breeding season or whatnot, they have like underlying problems. And so that we might not recognize, or maybe like a really small respiratory infection, whatever bacteria is inside of them kind of festering. And then we put them under brumation and we bring them up, or, we breed them like that. It kind of like maybe affects the litter in the clutch in a certain way.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so she was a first-time mom, and I paired around November, I think, and that's like when she ovulated. And I don't know, dude. I'm pretty old school in the way that like I know a lot of people won't like feed during dry season, or they won't do this or that, and they wait until they induce an ovulation and then they pair, or they wait till like cooler months. I've tried so many different things, dude. And it's all like kind of ranging success. I haven't really ever found like a go-to method for like the room. And that's maybe because I have like various species, or I don't like personally think that the animal's ready yet. And then Renee's like, yes, it is. What are you talking about? It just kind of, it just kind of depends.
Okay. So with this pair, were there any triggers that you used to get that female to go? Were food, temperature, anything that you used to get that motion?
The only thing that I did is just drop temps and kept them together the whole entire time. And, just like a normal boa does, he's all over that female the whole entire time. Mm-hmm. And I won't really separate until, because like when you pair a couple snakes together, dude, like they're on it, they're like pretty much on each other almost immediately if your timing is right, or, whatever. And so when that boa is on this female 24/7 and then just immediately is on the opposite side of the cage, it's like, his job is done for sure. Or at least, I would like to think so. And then I'll separate them, feed them up, do whatever. I have problems sometimes with like breeder male boas not wanting to eat because I have so many others like boa females, I'm assuming, in my collection. They're just like, I'm just not going to eat. And it's like mostly in particular with like my Sonoran boas, they just they will use food for, during the breeding season. And it stresses me the hell out. It's like a ball python keeper. I'm over here like, dude, oh my God, this thing's going to die. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really do anything too special. I just fed her like normal, kept her paired up. And then when she swelled up and, scale separation was present, you know better than most that I'm like really hard on myself. And so I always think like, yeah, no, I'm not like, I didn't plan this correctly, or like this animal's not gravid. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So then I, just for safe measure, I'll put the male back in with the female. And most of the time it's like, he's not going to want to, do anything with her. So then he just goes back to the other side. And then I realize like, oh, okay, cool. Like I don't have any fancy equipment. I just have my eyes to be like, you look thick, girl. So I hope you give me some babies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like last year with the Longicauda litter, I haven't really posted them or done much with them besides just take care of them and love them. That Longicauda litter, I had paired them and, did my thing and fed them and did whatever, but I never once saw them lock up. I never once saw him like just in a breeding ball, like wanting every inch of her. You know what I mean? It's like, he was very much like, nah, I'm cool. And she never swelled up. She never like, and she's like a fairly small snake. So it's like an ovulation or something would definitely be present. She never did any of that, dude. And then I'm on my paddle board and, one of my best friends calls me who watches the house and she's like, what the fuck? Like, you didn't tell me that you were going to have a baby, like a litter. And she's like, what the hell? And I'm over here like, what? And like, it was funny because like right before I had left Florida, I'm like, man, you look thick. But I didn't think that she was like about to drop.
Oh, wow.
And yeah. And so lo and behold, her first litter, I think she had like maybe 3 or 4 slugs and the rest were totally fine. I think one was like underdeveloped and they looked a little smaller to me, just because apparently, Longicauda in terms of babies, they're a lot smaller than any other boa that I have produced, like compared to the Argentines and everything else. Like they come out big, bro, ready to rock and roll, dude. And these little Longicauda look like baby Dominican red mountain boas. So they look like they didn't want to live.
Jeez.
But yeah, no, so I don't know. I didn't really do much. And like I said, I'm really bad at like collecting data and like figuring out like, oh, yep, this female's going to lay at this day. She's going to drop here. Dude, I was like stressing out Renee and Scott and like my friends every vacation. It's like, yep, this week she's laying, dude. There's no possible way that she's going to hold these babies for that much longer. And then
That's funny.
It's like, nope, next week. And then it doesn't happen. So it's like, all right, whatever. Like whenever it happens, it happens.
Yeah, that's hilarious. When you have the animals paired up, how frequently are you feeding the females?
It kind of depends on like my life, I guess.
Yeah.
I know you talk about a lot of like that like new wave conversation of like everybody was feeding their snakes too much or too little or whatever, and like you're kind of like in the midpoint range of like, just feed it accurately, like when it tells you that it needs food, not every single week. Or, not like you're overfeeding your animal because then they just don't breed.
Right.
Because I have a lot of stuff going on, like in my personal life, I don't really have like a set schedule for feeding. It's kind of like whenever I can and whenever I can get to it type of thing. And it's not necessarily because like I have so many snakes. It's just like I can't find the time. But it's like, to defrost 300 rodents and to sit there and make sure every single one of them eats in this room and, goes on to do what they need to do. It's hard. I also go back and forth with like how much I'm feeding females during pregnancy, if I'm feeding them enough or if I'm not feeding them at all. Like that Argentine boa, she ate that entire pregnancy. She didn't give a shit. So it was like every 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
She was at that door, dude, like telling me like, hey, if you don't feed me, I'm going to fuck you up. And so I would give her small rats and, she's like an 8-foot animal and I would give her multiple small rats and she'd smack the rat. Like, what the hell are you doing? But it's like, again, like I don't know how far along you are. And I'm not trying to give you this like smallish medium rat and just fuck up a bunch of babies. And so
Right.
I hear like a lot from boa people in particular, like, they won't feed during pregnancy. And then I also feel like I hear a lot of people that are like, no, I feed like crazy during pregnancy.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure. All I know is like a lot of my boa litters, they've had very few slugs and a lot of like fairly healthy babies. And I think I attribute that to like not breeding so early on in life and like letting them mature out into like a decent size. And then also like not necessarily power feeding or overfeeding, or like I don't want anybody to think one way or the other is better or worse.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But it's like they're snakes, dude. They're like opportunistic feeders. It's like they're not sitting at wherever they are in the wild eating every single week like the perfect size rodent every single time. And so if you just pay attention to your snake and kind of watch body condition, you'll kind of figure it out. And that's basically kind of what I did. This female was weird. She would eat, maybe 1/3 of her pregnancy. She wasn't really like begging for food or anything. And then that Longicauda female, that bitch was eating the whole entire time. Like and also too, like to add to like my anxiety of feeding larger meals, I didn't know she was gravid at all. And I basically gave her a huge ass rat, like a large rat, dude. And, 2 months later she popped out those babies. So it's like,
I mean, it makes sense if a live bearing female is gravid and is looking for food, it's probably for a reason.
right.
Like that snake knows. I mean, there's millions and millions of years of evolution baked into that animal. If eating while gravid was detrimental, they probably would have eliminated that, genetic sequencing quite a while ago. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, live bearing snakes and egg laying snakes, it's so different. It's amazing how different it is breeding live bearing species. And my only real experience with that has been with venomous for the most part. I had one litter of annulated boas. But
Remember that? Damn, that was a long time ago.
yeah, it was like 22 or something like that. It was a small litter too, but those were cool snakes. But yeah, I mean, like with the rattlesnakes, like I had one female who dropped a litter who like didn't eat at all she probably had her last meal in September. Wow. Then I had females eat days before dropping their litters. So, and then like the female that fasted that whole time, she ate immediately after having her litter. So
how was her litter? Like pretty good?
No, it was terrible. It was only one baby. One baby and like 5 slugs.
And are you like figuring because that was like her first time or because she wasn't eating?
Honestly, I think I struggled to get the room cold enough over the winter. Might have been it. Yeah, apparently, I think having the room on the second floor is a challenge for getting those temperatures down. Like hitting the low 50s at night, even if it's single digits outside with the window wide open, is very, very challenging for me.
Even in the wintertime, like natural brumation?
Dead of winter, single digit night temps, the window wide open, 56. I don't get it. I'm not even sure that's possible. I have to get some like super high powered fans to like pull the air into the room or something this winter. I don't know. But
you should just buy since you have all the space in the world, you should just buy a wine cooler and pop them in there like how colubrid people do.
Yeah. I mean, shoot. If I need to, I might, but damn.
I mean, yeah, just so that way you're like pretty perfect on temps and it's like pretty consistent. Because I help out like one of my really good friends. He's a vet and he has a bunch of reptiles, and so I help him, feed, clean, breed, whatever. And so I feel like he runs into situations like that a lot because he mainly focuses on colubrids and alterna, and so he'll roll out like one big ass freedom breeder rack into his garage. Well, that's like his brumation method, and it's worked for him for 20 plus years. And if it broke, don't fix it. However, the last like couple years we've had some pretty shitty winters, and they definitely did not get cold enough. And not only myself for this year, but like last year, all of those animals that I brumated, it definitely did not get cold enough. And then same thing for him. When he wheeled them out into his garage, it's like we can definitely tell like a very large difference in terms of of how many actually went full term, and also how many gave us eggs in terms of like how good the clutch was, or if they were all slugs, or if she's like retaining some of the slugs, or whatever. But I feel like this was like one of his worst years in terms of like winterizing his collection. And then now after breeding season, it's like he doesn't really have that many to breed, because they're all like pretty much done from that season. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it's been a learning process for me, because it's really like my second or third year really brumating a full room like that. So like in the past, there's just like a few pairs of colubrids, and it was pretty straightforward. But yeah, we'll see. But
little things like that, especially like when you're working in like a big environment, it's like, well, a big environment, or like many of the same snakes have like the same husbandry type of situation. It's like you're not only worried about one or two cages, you're worried about the entire room. And whether or not like this one shelf is this temperature, like the bottom shelf could be lower, or like this one cage is sitting right next to your vent, or like it's a lot of learning curves.
Yeah. Sure. No, and like the best litter I've had so far was like in pretty direct shot of the air conditioner, and it was on the ground, so probably got a good bit cooler than some of the higher up cages. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened to me. So
dude, yeah, I think we as keepers, and this is like where herpetologists kind of come in and like, or herpers kind of tell us like, hey, you're doing it way fucking wrong. Because it's like, we would think like, oh man, like, for example, a couple of my friends and I, we found a green rat, and it was Thanksgiving, it was raining, and it was like fucking 38, 40 degrees. And you would have told me that we were going to find that animal in November while it was raining high elevation. I would have told you just, get fucked. It's like, I like, it's not happening, and then it's like you pull up to that spot and it's right there in the rain, and it's cold as hell, and it's like, how is the snake even moving? But it's darting across the road, right? And so I don't know. I think we tend to like baby our stuff a little bit more than normal, and then
100%
we freak out about it for sure. Because those billies and quabs and stuff, dude, they can handle it real low, man. Those mountain ranges get pretty damn cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they sure do. So yeah, that's something that I'm going to really need to focus on this year. Is I don't know what I need to do to get that room 5 to 10 degrees colder, but I need to do it. So yeah, because I want to have a better year next year. I had a few real unfortunate litter outcomes, so I guess all part of the learning process.
Yeah. So hopefully they got their one out of the way, and now it's just prime time for them. No excuses. You know what I mean? They just gotta pump out babies, bro. There's nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk about the Argentine boas a little bit, because I feel like that's another species that you're very well known for. How many litters of Argentines have you produced now?
Of my own, only one. And in partnership with other people, 3, 4, I guess.
Okay.
The reptile shop that had many of them, all the way to just like me and friends doing random shit.
Yeah.
Doing a breeding loan. But like of my own animals that I personally got by myself and raised and, planned it and did whatever in my own home. Like, yeah, it was that last litter.
Okay. I mean, I personally haven't kept many boas, like boa constrictor, BCI. How do you compare Argentine boas to the rest of the boa constrictor complex?
In terms of what, like personality, husbandry, breeding?
I guess all the above, but just like the physicality of the animals, because they're, at least from the limited amount of time I've been around them, I'm like, these aren't the same as your Colombians and your Surinamese and et cetera and whatnot. So what's your perspective on that?
I mean, dude, they're like big Great Danes. You know what I mean? I feel like they have the ability to get bigger than most of the boas. I personally, out of all of our stuff, like boa wise, in terms of like locality boas, they're my favorite. And, you know,
Okay.
part of that being because I was raised around them at that reptile shop. So at that reptile shop, the wife, that was like her favorite boa was Argentine boas. And so this lady, fuck, dude, she might as well have hoarded them. You know, like every litter, it's like she would keep them back and try to test personality or do whatever. And then, you know, believe it or not, back in the day, I used to do YouTube and YouTube videos. So I would do, you know, reptile collection tours, and like I'd go around reptile shows like at Rami's place and just be like, you know, I'm going to interview you. Let me ask you 10 questions, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And now I definitely don't do that at all.
I think you do now, but
No, I don't know, dude.
the last 2 hours and 50 minutes disagrees with you.
Yeah, maybe I'll be on again. But yeah, no, I mean, I like them just because they're a lot different. They kind of just remind me of like a calmer big dog. The babies tend to be like a little bit more hissy, but to be honest, like with that litter, I didn't receive like a hiss or a strike up until like maybe 6 months after, like, and it was probably like food response related. I have not, out of all like 24 babies or whatever it was, none of them have bit me or done anything. Like the hissy, huffy, puffy bullshit is just like a boa thing, right? Like you're a 20-gram boa, I'm gonna hiss at you too. So it's just yeah, I like them a lot. We have Suriname, Sonarcata, Bolivian, you name it. Argentines are still my favorite, and
Yeah.
I definitely they deserve like a lot more respect, I feel like, than what they're given. They were not as popular, and they got popular pretty quick, and then now they have kind of died down a little bit, just because it's probably a larger animal to maintain. But
Yeah.
yeah, dude, you handle those things, bro, and they come out and they chill with you unlike any other snake. So I think they're a lot cooler. And they're cool, man. Like everybody loves black snakes, you know what I mean? And so it's like the Matrix has all of these crazy looking like patterns and stuff. So
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like there are a few more impressive boas than a big ass Argentine boa, like an 8-foot Argentine boa. That's a monster of a snake.
dude, there was this chick. So back in like my YouTube days, there was this chick. So how I know, also about Argentines and like how big they get, I'm blanking on her name, but this really old white lady, she's probably not even around anymore. She had these 2 Argentine boas outside in an enclosure, and you can probably still look them up on YouTube, you know, today, and just like search up Argentine boa, and it's like the shittiest videos of these Argentines. But dude, they are like at least 11.5 feet long. They are huge assholes, bro. And their heads were like bigger than my fist. And
Those are berms.
yeah, dude. And this like little tiny frail old 70-year-old woman would be like taking out these big ass Argentines and like putting them on her front lawn. And she would talk to these snakes all the time. And like, I remember she got bit by him one time, and it left like the largest. It was like her whole entire arm was bruised just from like the amount of force that it had hit her with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never seen an Argentine that big before ever, and still to this day, like being just like, you know, around everybody and all these collections, I still, dude, have not. Like she would feed like 6-pound rabbits or some shit, and it would be like a bump. It's just, dude, it's crazy. I need to find that video and send it to you. It's nuts.
Yeah, please do. Gosh, that's nuts.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's absolutely crazy. So I guess then on the other end of the spectrum, you got the Sonoran boas that are your kind of mini boas. What's your Sonora group looking like?
Oh man. If you count Terra Humera mountain boas,
Sure.
I probably have like 9 adults.
Okay.
And they've never bred. We've just, like I said, loved and cared for them. You know, the past 3 years, mainly just because I was focusing on like the Argentine litter, and I didn't want 2 big boa litters.
Yeah.
I had like a lot of stuff going on. So, you know, like my dog going through her cancer shit was probably like the worst 2 years of my life, having to deal with that and deal with the reptiles. And that was probably like one of my first moments of being like, holy shit, you know, like when something really crazy happens, you know, like even like when my mom had a stroke, it wasn't that intense, but it's like when something really crazy happens and I have all these animals, it definitely showed that I spent more time with this dog and her problems than with my collection. So, you know, like I could have bred all of these boas the last 3 years, but I've kind of just taken a step back and not really push them as much. Kind of like the conversations that I have with you and Brooke. It's like, you know, like I said, I can't afford these animals and I have all of them for a reason because I love them, and I'd rather kind of sit there for however long, 10 years or whatever, and just enjoy that snake or that lizard or frog or whatever, than be so stressed out to find it a mate and then not want to keep it anymore. It's just, I'm in it for myself and like the animals. So it's like, I don't give a shit if it breeds or not, you know, like I'm enjoying it. If it breeds, it's cool. And like, I get to enjoy its babies, and you know, then I get that gratification of like me being a good keeper, I guess, because I'm doing things right. But for the most part, it's,
Yeah, no, I mean, 100%. And it's a mindset that isn't talked about nearly enough within the hobby. It's kind of like, it's had some, sort of like a tumble in the background. Nice. These scrubs, these scrubs are supposed to be intelligent, but I guess not all the time.
Who said they're intelligent? I want to know.
I did.
That's like saying a green tree python is intelligent.
I got in trouble with green tree python. We'll avoid that.
It's like throwing shade, dude.
Yeah, no, I got caught up in that. But yeah, I mean, that mentality is definitely not widespread enough, and it would be good if more people like had that. You know, I have this species, and like if I breed it, cool. If I don't, that's not the whole point of this.
Right.
So yeah, no, it's definitely a very admirable approach. So I appreciate you talking about that as well, because you know, especially on Reptile podcasts, a lot of the time the conversation is around breeding and, you know, sometimes like the business model of it, which isn't a bad thing. It's
right.
You know, what makes this industry work, but that's not the only approach that one can take. Correct. And oftentimes that's not the approach that brings the most enjoyment and gratification. Right. So
yeah, man, the pressure's real, dude. It's like, that social media shit, dude, I'm telling you, it's the mentality shifts, it changes, you know. It's like you want to keep these animals for yourself, not because posting a black dragon on social media looks cool or whatever, you know. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Well, before we wrap up, there's one last species complex that I need to bring up that, you know, you were actually one of the people who gave me the confidence I needed to dive into it. And that would be the scrub pythons.
Okay.
I mean, you were into scrubs before being into scrubs was cool.
This is true.
This is very true. True. So like what kind of scrubs have you kept over the years, and then what do you have now?
I've pretty much kept all of the types of scrubs, I guess, besides Clasto, Aru, Biak, and like King Horneye, I guess. But for the most part, living like, you know, in our time frame that we did, and having the connections that we had, having animals like brought to us in that type of fashion was like pretty common. And because they weren't as like overhyped, it was really easy for you to get kind of whatever you wanted, because you didn't have to fight for like what you wanted to get, I guess. I mean, they're still one of my favorite snakes. Like I tell people this all the time. I like, if I could, you know, I'd be just like you, or I would have probably a lot more scrubs. They are like a larger species of snake, and I dip my toes in a lot of things, and so it's like can't really have too many large species of snake, especially scrubs. But that was like a species that definitely like hit me in the balls multiple times and ran away, dude, with my lunch money. That's like, just from like the amount of wild caught animals to just like the very, very few United States captive bred and born, or, you know, whatever animals that came about. It's like it was always some bullshit, dude. Like something happened or, you know, whatever. And it's like stuff that I never dealt with in snakes before, right? Like crazy stomatitis to the point where like their mouth is totally inflamed and it's like causing pressure pockets from their eye socket, right? And it's like overnight, dude, like that animal is totally fine, and then the next morning it's like, why is your face puffy? And then the day after you're like, holy shit, what's happening? You know, or just wild caught stuff. Anybody that's dealt with wild caught things, it's like, dude, you name it, it's happened. And for me, I tend to trust a little bit more than most with certain things, especially when it comes to certain people. And so I've had like a lot of instances where I, you know, got a lot of scrub pythons and they were one sex but happened to be another. So I just raised this multiple animals for, you know, 6 years, and then they're males. It's like
I've had more missexed Halmaheras than properly sexed Halmaheras.
Yeah. And
like,
it's like
I had a clutch this year from a pair. The male was sold to me as a female, and the female was sold to me as a male. I guess it still worked out, but
and you're like wondering, like, what are you doing? You know, like, are you probing these animals? Are you popping them? Are you fucking fingering them? Like, are you like
you're just throwing something on there and just
you
are a male.
Yeah, or it's like, oh yeah, vent to tail ratio looks real small, I'm gonna call it a female. What, dude? Like, I don't understand. And you know, like maybe that's just also me too. Like, it's my fault for not like double checking and being that like crazy snake nerd that like carries, you know, snake probes in my pocket every time I go to an expo or some shit, or you know, I'm not like double checking every single time. And that's, you know, my complacency, I guess, of just like trusting some individuals. But yeah, I've definitely like learned now that I need to check my shit before I just waste 4 years of breeding or of raising an animal and to be like, yeah, I'm gonna breed this female, and then it's a male.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, like with the scrubs, I love them. I had a very large collection of them. That was like my main focus. At one point I had more scrubs than probably anything else. But yeah, I had one Maruki female that was my first ever scrub that, you know, I try not to get attached to reptiles. And I try not to get attached just in general, just, you know, from us being around, shit happens, and I hate falling in love with something. And it's not like a dog or a cat that kind of exhibits more symptoms. It's like, it's a reptile. So it's going to tell you that it's dying. And by that time it's fucking pretty much dead or, you know, pretty far gone. And so I had a snake. Her name was the Queen, and because she was the queen of the reptile room, she's super large, beautiful Maruki female. She was the nicest snake, dude, like in my whole entire reptile room. I brought her to a birthday party and like let children throw her around like a Burmese python. You know what I mean? Like, she was a really cool snake. That animal, dude, probably gave me the most PTSD that I have ever had from any other animal. It was this perfect individual, and then all of a sudden just started tanking. And the tanking process was not like, you know, dramatic, or it was dramatic, but it wasn't overnight or like within a couple of days or weeks or whatever. This shit happened within like a year, bro. And it's like, I'm in ER veterinary medicine. I'm a veterinary technician. It's like I have exotic doctors all around me. We're running all of these tests. I'm like basically going into debt for this stupid fucking snake, trying to figure out like what is happening, dude. And every single day I go into my reptile room, something new is happening. And, you know, it's like, well, they caught like bacterial infection and they caught a bunch of other things. And it's like, all right, well, let's give her medication, ceftazidime, whatever, right? And it's like, well, that never helped. And then things just got worse. And then one day she just was paralyzed. It was like, I woke up in the room and I went to go check in on her thinking like, yeah, she's going to die or she's going to be dead. And dude, literally like 1/3 of her body was working. And she like looked at me like, yeah, I'm pretty much done. And then I had to euthanize her. And that was like one of the like very first snakes that I like had spent just a shit ton of time and money and like emotion on, because I raised that animal from pretty much like it had just past its red neo stage. And so when that had happened, dude, it was like pretty much around the same time like scrub pythons started to pop off. And it's like, well, fuck, dude, like I'm a single dude, you know, living on my own, like basically fighting for my life. I'm not gonna afford all of these new like scrub pythons now that they're like all hyped up and like more expensive. And so
Yeah.
The remaining ones that I had, tandem bars, barnecks, a couple marukis, highlands, and then some of them, turned out to be opposite sexes, and then I sold them, and then some had some crazy ass shit happen to them and passed away. So I now only have one adult female barneck, a tandem bar female that I've had for years. I got from Rob Christian. And then I have one really beautiful male barneck, and to be honest, I think that's it. So I went from 20 plus to 3, and it's just because I was really kind of tired of dealing with everything in my personal life and the reptile collection, and then dealing with that species, and it was like a personal decision. Like, well, like obviously I'm either doing something wrong or like my luck is just up, and I'm I need to revisit this another time or something, because it's not really doing me any favors when I'm getting stressed out and screaming in my reptile room because something died. And it's like reptile keepers are always like, is it my fault, or is it the species, or is it some underlying condition, or is it air, whatever. And so I'm like, like that, all of the above plus more, because I beat myself up all the time. So
I really think that, like with wild caught scrubs, like they'll be solid, but it doesn't take nearly as much for something to go wrong as it does with other species.
Right.
So I mean, we've talked about it. I've talked about it a little bit on here. I've been to the absolute ringer with scrub pythons, and obviously I'm still here doing it, but the captive bred ones do seem to be kind of the cheat code to a lot of the issues that you and I and others have had with wild caughts. So, we'll see what happens. But it is definitely tough. But I mean, I guess at this point, if you were to get back into them to some degree, do you have like these would be like the localities that you would be focused on, or like any idea like that?
Dude, I still love clastos. You know what I mean? And I have never been like fortunate enough to own one, and so it's like I've always wanted to own one. But knowing what we know and like kind of growing up in the industry, like I'm not paying what people are asking. It's just not. Well, number one, it's not fucking physically possible for me to pay that, and number two, it's like there's in no point of my 20-something years of keeping and breeding reptiles have I been like, you know what, dude, I'm gonna spend $10,000 on this snake. It's worth it for me.
Well, they're not that expensive, but
but like Bolins or whatever, it's just like the same thing. It's like that doesn't really interest me like too much. I don't know. The clastos I really like. I really love those arus. And I mean, outside of that, like you and me are pretty much the same dude. Like a really nice classic barneck that we grew up around it's not, oh man, bro. Like something about those barnecks, dude. You know what I mean? It's just the variability and just the absolute beauty that they can hold from baby to adult is pretty insane.
Yeah, this girl who's over my right shoulder here, she was from my first collection in 2020, and she's about 9 feet now. And like, I don't know. That animal just it blows my mind every time I look at it. Just everything about that snake to me is just so perfect.
Right, and it's not like it's gonna change, right? Like it might get better.
Just better.
Like it might get better, but it definitely isn't gonna get uglier. It's like it's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Alex just said that he bought a Clasto in 1999 for $600. That owns like the 2017 market.
Yeah, the first ones I got were 700.
Yep.
And they are not that anymore, and they will never be that again, unfortunately.
Not at all, dude.
So, yeah. Well,
one day.
So I guess a couple of last questions I'll ask you. Kind of feel like they're standard podcast closers, but after this conversation, I feel like it's definitely worth it. One being, I mean, is there like a dream species that you have of like, man, that would be the absolute top tier pinnacle reptile that I could own?
That's hard for me to answer because I probably have a dream species in like each category, like snake, lizard, whatever. And
Yeah.
Renee and Brandon, John, whoever hangs out with me on a fairly recent, or like on a fairly good basis, it's like I have a lot of favorites, dude. And like, as much as I've kept and produced or whatever or been around, like I still have. Yeah, it's like I can really never like make up my mind, and I still have things that I haven't kept or haven't, been exposed to. Whether that's because of laws here in Arizona or just because I haven't been fortunate enough to have them in my hands. But like, for example, like a monitor, it would be Griseus, and we can't even really get those. And if not Griseus, if it's something obtained or like an Gray's monitor or something, but if it's obtainable, it would be a crocodile monitor. Like I've always loved Salvadori, and they're, incredible looking animals. I will probably get some hate for it, but screw an Asian water monitor, dude. They're a fat bulldog, you know what I mean? And a crocodile monitor is like, it's athletic, jujitsu, like monkey climbing, it's like the thing is going to scale a tree like a monkey and drop down the tree to, attack whatever it needs to eat. And that's going to happen in 10 seconds. Also, they just look absolutely insane. And I've had multiple opportunities to get that animal, that species, but that's something that you like for sure need to be stable and, just totally locked in, because it's not an animal that you can just throw in some tiny ass enclosure and call it good.
You need a really good long-term plan for that animal.
Yeah, man. And they got brains, bro. You know what I mean? When that animal is looking at you and it's dilating its eyes and it's checking you out, like it knows what the hell you're doing. It's a different feeling, dude. And so it almost doesn't really do them justice for you to just be like, yeah, this thing's in a 6 foot tall, 6 foot long enclosure. I love it, and it's fat. It eats chicken wings all day.
Yeah.
Like most of like the big monitor people, it's like I feed them chicken wings all day. That's how big it is. I love it. So I don't know. Griseus, Gray's monitor, and crocodile monitors for obtainable species, for monitor lizards. For normal lizards, my dream was always Chinese alligator lizards, or Chinese crocodile lizards. And, because of Renee, I had gotten a pair. My female unfortunately died while she had babies inside of her. And so again, it's like one of those situations where like, I'm not like, we got that pair when they were semi-affordable, and I'm for sure not in a position to be buying female Chinese, you know what I mean? So it's like female Chinese Shinosaurus. So it's like, there's a lot of projects in here that are on hold, and or like I just have one of, because they're just expensive animals. I don't really know, dude. Like for snakes and stuff, it's like there's animal, like, I don't know, dude. I've kept so many things and decided like it's not for me, or whatever. I haven't really, I don't really know, like in terms of snakes, like what my dream would be. I guess like lizards, I'm more like aware of like what I want, because I don't have them. But for the snakes, it's like outside of like the financial value, like I can pretty much get whatever snake, like lizards are the hard part. It's like finding multiple breeders for one like niche species. It's like, fuck, dude, you're screwed. Like the Tenosauria, it's like, yeah, there's Florida people and there's some Arizona people that do it, but in reality, like how old are these people? How long do they have until they don't want to do it anymore? Or how long do they have until they're like completely, totally over it, and documentation and shit is out the window? And so then you're like forced to, have all of your information kind of like based off of what you're doing on your own, rather than what they could have given you. So,
yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Alex said I got to see enclosures at Replandia. Yeah, dude, we need to take a Texas trip, because I'm trying to go kiss some lizards, brother. Yeah,
that croc monitor exhibit is absolutely wild.
That's like a multi-species exhibit, right?
Yeah, it's croc monitors and sailfin dragons.
And there's like a water feature to it too, right?
Yeah, huge, like a 30 foot tall, something like that, waterfall. Yeah.
And they bred that species in that enclosure, or
Yeah.
That's fucking cool, dude.
Yeah.
See, it's stuff like that. October Texas Carpet Fest. Where is that?
It's in Reptilandia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I might have to. Are you doing that?
Probably. That'd be fun.
Might have to talk to Scott, Renee, and Brandon about that, brother. That sounds like fun. I got to bring my nephew so he can.
Yeah. No, that'd be a fun one.
Yeah, dude, I'm down. I'm super down. I still got to go see Steven. He's only 4 hours away from me, and I still haven't gone over.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's pretty rude. I mean, you could have almost been here in the time we've done this episode. So, you know.
I'm on my way, dude. I'm on my way. You know what I mean? I'll be here. I'll be there.
Well, I guess.
I got that, dude.
And that means we have gone off the rails. I think this is a good moment to probably close out on. Well, 3 hours and 15 minutes. What do you think about that, Alex?
Oh man, my palms are still sweaty, my knees are still weak, and my arms are heavy. But it was chilling. I'm good. It was fine. Maybe a part 2 in the future. We'll see.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, I'll be better about social media appearances and YouTube and whatnot. But for the most part, just know that I die inside every time I do something like this. So.
Well, then you did it very well.
Good. I'm glad.
So for everyone who wants to, follow what you're doing, keep up with what you got going on, where are the best places to find you?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook primarily on Alexander Huang, or pandasfauna is my main handle for pretty much everything. MORPH Market is pandasfauna 2. YouTube, even though I don't use it, is also pandasfauna. It's mainly just my Facebook. That's my name. I won't typically nowadays add somebody on Facebook if I don't really know them. Because I have too many friends on Facebook. But for the most part, you can message me on Instagram and I'll reply right away.
All right. Cool. Well, for me, I am Scrub Shepherd on Instagram. Find me Stephen Kush on Facebook. At Kush Reptile on YouTube as well. I do new video every Friday. I'm Kush Reptile on MORPH Market. And I'm here every Wednesday night on the Trap Talk Reptile Network. So once again, thank you everybody for tuning in to the podcast. I'll catch you all back here next week for a new episode.